Hey, lovely people that have good taste. It is Thursday, the 13th of October. Welcome to TDA, the day after, your favorite news platform and the home of popular culture as defined by the culture. And you, of course, have amazing lit hosts. Let's introduce ourselves.
It's your boy, Big Moss from the east side of the bridge, 6 foot plus appeal temptation, all that good stuff. Back in my natural role, you know what I'm saying? Let's go.
Do you know what killed me? It's the first day when you did all of that, then Yusuf was like, oh, you should introduce yourself first. You were done.
Oh, what was that? That was a bit.
You were done. Do you remember?
Can't get the help nowadays. Can't get the help, man.
When he did the introduction the first day on Monday,
yeah.
and then you were like, yeah, but you introduce yourself first.
Oh, yeah.
And he was thinking, do you know what? I can't. But it is your favorite shade queen and my own royalty.
It's Mr. Rotations, the Oracle, the voice of reason, Big Man Use.
And they call me E-Man, the pro-black activist, TDA producer and news analyst, Melanin Jam-Packed.
Nice. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, doing all right, you know.
Yeah,
Can't
fantastic.
complain, yeah.
Good. Love to see it.
Good to have you back.
Thank you. I've missed you guys. Thank you. This is really a part of my routine. Like, it's actually weird not being here. It was very weird for my body system. As much as, it's a lot of talking. It was very weird. It was very, very weird. But I did tell people I would let you know. That's why you should join the community. If you join the community, you will see things before I talk about it in the show. So I said I would let people know where I was. And basically I did some training. So when we're starting a business, and I'm going to be offering beauty services or beauty treatments.
Okay.
And so I did my training in my first beauty treatment I'm going to be offering. And it's ombre brows. And I created some really good brows yesterday. I can't drop the pictures in the, in the group, in the community because of people's faces. But when I do edit it for my Instagram page, I will put it there first.
For those who don't know, what's ombre brows?
So basically, it's it's so difficult to explain, but it's just me giving you kind of fuller brows, but it's not like thick from start to end. So it's like it looks natural. It's basically eyebrows that looks as natural as it possibly can.
Is it the ones that you're talking about that can take like 2 hours?
To do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it lasts like 2 to 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's
wow.
it's semi-permanent makeup. So it's kind of like the same process as like tattooing. So like I use a needle and stuff like that. But it's really cool. Yeah.
Jeez, well done.
Thank you. So I worked on 2 people yesterday. Oh, thanks.
Well, did you pass already? You qualified already, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this clap is, we need to learn how to shorten this.
I think it's
Very ridiculous. And it's the odd like, hey. But yes, I'm qualified already. I just need to do more people. So I worked on 2 people yesterday. An Asian lady, which was good because obviously skin tone kind of similar. And then Caucasian lady, which is also good. So the Asian lady, she already had nice brows, but I basically made them fuller for her. And then the Caucasian lady, she barely had anything. And I gave her some. So, yeah. It's really, really cool. And I just need to sort out the other business side of things, like when I'm going to be doing it, taking clients, all that great stuff. But anyone wants their brows done, hit me up. And I will be offering a discount as well for my first few clients.
Jeez.
But yeah, so I'm excited to add another skill to my name.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's where I was, guys.
Black excellence right there.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Big up you.
Thank you. All right, so ready to get into the show?
Let's go.
All right, let's get into our headlines.
So the coronation of King Charles III will take place on Saturday, the 6th of May, 2023 at Westminster Abbey, with a ceremony reflecting the modern-day role of the monarchy. The King and the Queen Consort will be crowned in a service that will retain some historical elements of past coronations, but also recognise the spirit of the times. Charles will be anointed with holy oil, receive the orb, coronation ring and scepter, then be crowned with the majestic St. Edward's crown and blessed during the ceremony. Camilla will also be anointed with holy oil and crowned, as was the Queen Mother when she was crowned Queen in 1937. In a statement, Buckingham Palace said that the coronation will take place at Westminster Abbey in London and will be conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury. The ceremony will see His Majesty King Charles III crowned alongside the Queen Consort. The coronation will reflect the monarch's role today and look towards the future, while being rooted in long-standing traditions and pageantry. Further details will be announced in due course. This part Margs might be happy about. Number 10 has said that all options are being considered on whether there will be a bank holiday to mark King Charles III's coronation. Some MPs have called for a bank holiday to be announced, either by moving the scheduled one on the 1st of May to the 8th of May, or by just creating an additional public holiday. Downing Street said that the government were carefully considering all the plans. Number 10 spokesman said, obviously, this will be an historic event, so all options remain on the table. That's the first headline.
Is the holy oil the same as we use in church?
Yeah. It's all the same.
Just regular oil.
It's just literally your olive oil. It's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
You know, does the same job, innit?
Does it?
Need that bank holiday though.
I know they're so selfish. That's why they're trying to. They need to not merge it with the May one. Don't do that. That would be so rude.
I don't think they want to merge it, though.
They're considering it.
I thought they were just going to move one and then put one in.
That's a merger. Because we have one of the biggest.
So they said move the scheduled one to the 8th. That's not adding one. That's just moving it.
Yeah, don't move it though. If you're not going to give me an additional one, let's just stick to tradition then and just do it the first weekend. It's weird having a bank holiday in the second weekend of May and then another one 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, true.
Just keep it as it is if you're going to be annoying about things.
Yeah, that don't make no sense.
Yeah,
that don't make no sense.
It's a trick anyway. Watch, we're going to get robbed somehow.
And our next headline is Jacob Rees-Mogg has claimed market turmoil is not linked to the mini budget in which the Chancellor announced big tax cuts without the usual analysis of the economic impact. The business secretary said volatility was more to do with interest rates than a minor part of fiscal policy. He said that the Bank of England had not raised rates as fast as the US did, but economists and some MPs said that the plans had worried investors, pointing to the surge in borrowing costs. After the mini budget, the pound plunged and the government borrowing costs surged. He said that what has caused the effect in pension funds is not necessarily the mini budget. It could just as easily be the fact that the day before the Bank of England did not raise interest rates as much as the US, the Federal Reserve, did. He also said jumping to conclusions about causality is not meeting the BBC's requirement for impartiality, after a suggestion that the Chancellor's actions had been the trigger for fluctuations in the value of the pound and government bonds. At the first PMQs since the mini-budget, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer accused Prime Minister Liz Truss of ducking the question when asked whether she agreed with the business secretary. Ms Truss said that the government had taken decisive action, adding, as a result of our action, we will see higher growth and lower inflation. And our last headline is linked to that, and it seems like Liz Truss is in hot water. So Liz Truss' leadership was in fresh peril on Wednesday, with calls growing among senior Conservatives to reverse more proposed tax cuts and MPs accusing her of thrashing Conservative values. As the cost of government borrowing soared further, Truss used her second PMQ's appearance to absolutely rule out further spending cuts, instead allowing borrowing to rise over the next few years. The remarks failed to calm the markets, with the price of 20-year UK bonds hitting new lows on Wednesday afternoon after the Bank of England insisted its £65 billion package of support for the bond market would end on Friday. On the day of her first parliamentary showdown since the Conservative Party conference, MPs renewed serious conversations about the prospect of replacing her. The Prime Minister has pledged to set up engagement with restive MPs with a series of roundtables over the next week. Number 10 has publicly denied there's any new examination of the tax cuts announced in the mini-budget, including tweaks to the timing of the income tax cut or a re-evaluation of the cancelled corporation tax rise. At a meeting of the Backbench 1922 committee, MPs described her performance as just appalling and raised serious concerns about mortgage rates and polls showing a hefty Labour lead. The chair of the Education Select Committee, Robert Halfon, told Truss that she had thrashed the last 10 years of workers' conservatism, citing achievements under David Cameron and Boris Johnson, such as apprenticeships and levelling up, and comparing those priorities to tax cuts and banker bonuses. The MP Julian Lewis asked if Truss was planning to compensate mortgage holders. And leaving the room, one MP said that the atmosphere was funereal, and another that the Prime Minister had done absolutely nothing to reassure colleagues whatsoever. Another MP even described the situation as impossible. So it's not looking really good.
Already?
Huh?
You said they're talking about replacing her already?
Yeah, man.
What's wrong with this country? Why can't I just let people have good things? Give people a chance to like at least try something for a while. I feel like when someone new comes in, they get judged by a predecessor.
Yeah.
Oh, English girl. Yeah, do you get me? Like they get judged by I was,
Why are you so proud?
because you know what? I was thinking just an everyday mess up words. I'm very proud of that. I'm really proud. That's the moment. I was actually remembering. But yeah, it's not every day like judge people by the person that was before them.
Yeah.
And I feel like this country does that a lot where they want the next person to come, but then as soon as you step in, they're like, oh, you're not doing anything. I just got here. I haven't unpacked my boxes yet. I literally just got here.
I think it's because I think people just feel like the little that she has done has just been worse already than, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but we haven't felt the effects of it though.
But yeah, we have, you know.
I've been feeling one long effect since COVID. So excuse me for not knowing there's another difference.
Mortgage rates are crazy right now, man. Like, if you get a new mortgage, what do you call it? Tariff, whatever. It's crazy. It's much more than it was before, man. Just like a few weeks before they announced the mini budget.
It's mad.
Yeah,
But then
crazy,
the next person that comes in there, will they be able to reverse that?
potentially if they do certain things that just make people have a bit more confidence in the market.
So why can't people just make suggestions? And then she leads and we make suggestions.
Because by doing that, she'll basically be doing a complete U-turn on all the things she put in place.
Go ahead.
That'll be like, what type of leader is this? You know what I'm saying? So I think she's compromised in certain areas, but in some areas she's like, nah, we still need to go ahead with this. But I agree with you. I think you have to kind of give certain things some time.
Give people a moment. At least a year.
Yeah.
Because I swear the elections in 2024. Mark's like, The next one's 2024, isn't it?
I believe so.
We're in 2022. We're basically 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give it some time, man.
Yeah, but if things keep going how they're going, they're gonna call the election forward, isn't it?
But I think they can't do one of those no confidence votes.
Okay.
So I think she's got a time. She's got a certain amount of time.
They can't or they can?
Yeah, they can't.
Oh, that's all right then.
I can't remember what the time frame is, but they can't do it within a certain window.
Oh, go on, Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah, she might as well do what she can, man.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
the end of the headlines.
Let's get into our topic of the day. What you saying?
Right, so today's topic of the day is a general question, but I think you'll get a bit more of the context once Brent plays this TikTok video. But the question is our generation too soft? In relation
This generation fucked up. Each one have depression, taking pill, and anxiety attack. I grew up in 13 brothers and sisters. Every night I ask my mother where I'm sleeping today. Today in the bed or today in the floor? What I'm doing today, coming in grade 2, 3, 4. So today you're doing all your dishes. Tomorrow you put the laundry. Every day I have something to do. I can say, I grew up, I have so much depression. I have so much anxiety attack. Come on. We're supposed to have depression and attack. Every day I don't know if we have food and what we're eating, what we don't eating, where we're sleeping, or what the parents maybe beat us, or the brother beat you, or the neighbor beat you.
Do you know what's mad? I'm so sorry. I know you've got some questions to ask here. What I always find funny about the older generation when they do the whole, you guys are soft and what do you have to be depressed about, blah, blah, blah. They are depressed. They just don't know it. They are depressed. The things that we have knowledge about today and they think we're making a scene about, they are all of those things. Sometimes mom would tell me stuff like, oh, this person, like, oh, I had a friend in school and blah, blah, like, he used to drink a lot and like, he just died. And I'm like, ma'am, that was alcoholism. But do you know what I mean? But they don't put labels to things. They don't attach labels to things, but it's the same thing. It's ridiculous.
I hear you. If your notion is correct, then I don't feel like they show their depression in the same way as this generation does.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, because we wouldn't guess our parents were depressed,
Yeah,
even if they were going through hell.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's right. Yeah, I think with them, they've always been in survival mode.
Yeah.
So even when they have been suffering with depression and they've got mental health issues, a lot of them have mental health illnesses that they don't have a name for it. I guess we have the knowledge to know that this is bipolar, this is schizophrenia, but they don't have that knowledge. But I think a lot of them as well, they're in survival mode. So they just
If
get
they
on with
can
stuff.
keep a grip of their feelings and their emotions and keep their MH in order, ain't that proof that they're stronger then?
Do you know what? I don't necessarily think it's stronger, just because I think it's different struggles, different time.
But hold on, who agrees with
Auntie.
what she said?
I agree with her, definitely.
Same here.
Yeah, same.
Not necessarily like exactly what she's saying. I don't know, because obviously her story is her story, but just her sentiment of it that the older generations are tougher.
Yeah, for sure.
They're tougher. These men was working in the mines when they was 15 and that. Like, you're not going to do that now. It's impossible.
Yeah, because they had to. That was what society gave them. Okay, this is my thing. I don't think it makes you tougher just because that's what you had to do.
It does. All this generation does, or the younger generations do, is complain. Like, all they do is complain.
I
obviously,
agree with that.
obviously, you're allowed to stand up for yourself. Feel like things are changing, and I get it, society's changing, but all they do is complain. They don't know how to deal with certain things, innit? Like, and it's obviously like, I'm not that old, but I've seen like a lot of the old people talk about this energy stuff and all the cuts outs, and they were saying, well, back in our day, we never even had like heating in the yard. Like, winters was bad. Like, we were straight. We made it through. And obviously that was their times. They never had no choice. But the fact is, this lot ain't surviving without the energy like that. If you cut them off and you can't charge your phone, forget even being cold. They don't care about being cold. If their phone's dead, they're screwed. What are they gonna do?
They're screwed.
Scrambling, literally.
You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be bugging out. Like, so I think like the younger generations are definitely softer for loads of different reasons, whether it's wrong or right. But I think that's true though.
Yeah. But the thing is, everything is relative though, because obviously times have changed, innit? So everyone's just dealing with what's in front of them.
Yeah, and that's my thing.
And like, it's kind of an evolution, so to speak, in it. But I do agree though. This generation is a bit softer. You know, I feel like if they had to go through what our parents went through, they'll crumble.
Yes.
But does that make them soft though? So are we saying that this generation is softer because you're comparing it to what the older generation did in their time?
No, we had it. We've got it easier than generations before us, yeah. But if you see the way the people act here, you wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
But then don't you think it's because society, I guess, because life is easy for them, that is why they are the way they are. So essentially, they have been. The environment has created this. So we say they're soft, but that's what society's allowed them to be.
Yeah, true, but it doesn't mean they ain't soft. In comparison, because the thing is, all she done was compare.
Yeah.
So we have to go off what she's saying. She's comparing this generation to the previous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you're comparing, then this one does look softer in comparison.
But you know what it is, I think as well, I think comparing is hard for me because they had to do what they had to do because they had no choice. Today, there is a choice. So unless we put this generation in in that same circumstances and we see how they react, we can't exactly say, I personally can't exactly say that they are softer, because when it comes to like, we don't know what their survival mode instincts are going to be like. Do you get me? So, but then the thing is, they went through what they went through. Essentially, life is meant to be getting easier and easier for each generation. So we can't necessarily say each generation is getting softer and softer. The reason why they had to do what they had to do was because they had no choice but to do that. But where today I've got a choice, whether I want to be a miner or, you know, as in not a minor kid, as in like mine, dig some holes and I don't know, get some coal or something, whatever that's about. But do you get me? Whether I choose to do that or I work in an office, I have that choice today, because there's people as well there's young people who say they can't find like jobs and whatever. They become cleaners, they do building work, they do all these things. Those people, they have no choice in those moments but to do that. They do manual labor because they have no choice but to do that. Do you get what I mean? So I think for me, it's a bit difficult to say that. I do think we're very sensitive. I definitely think it's a lot of sensitivity. I definitely think it's not... because I can look at the previous generation and really, really use that to appreciate what it is that I have. But not a lot of people do that in this generation. For them, it's like an entitled mindset. But I think when it comes to the soft, I just think when people are in a position where they have no choice but to do what they need to do, they will do it.
Do you feel like why do you think more people are being depressed now? Because I get what you're saying about choice, right? And I guess choosing the soft life over why would you want to struggle anyway? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But in terms of like having, I guess, things being less difficult than it was in the past, why are people still more depressed now than in the past?
Because they're allowed to be. Because they're being babied. And obviously, whether it's wrong or right, I think attitudes back then was more like, suck it up. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, suck it up. You'll power through. And obviously, people were saying, for real, let me power through, I can do it. Now, everyone's been wrapped up in cotton wool, and you get what I'm trying to say. So you're allowed to, but you're allowed to indulge in those things more. So you're being told to express and do that stuff more. So I think the attitudes are different. Where people just tell you like, allow it, power through, boom, boom, boom. People was finding the strength and doing it, but now you don't have to. Because even with like, say that like the online bullying and stuff like that, yeah. Like, but I'm a firm believer that internet and real life is two different places, and I think real life is way worse than the internet. Some people like ain't even got big platforms or not even a lot of followers, but they're still thinking it. In real life, us like, say that go back into like our generation when we were in school and like, I don't know, stuff like with the West Africans and stuff like that, that kind of bullying, that weren't online, that was real life. You get what I'm trying to say? That man was going, some West African people was down bad in the mud, to even where they're saying Jamaican, they're Jamaican and that, you know what I'm trying to say? Like the real life bullying was serious. These kids wouldn't be able to go through that now. They'll be trying to string up left, right and center.
Do you know what it is though about like more people being depressed? I don't think it's necessarily like, okay, I do think there are more people, but I don't think that the stats are as wild as it may seem, because I hold that the previous generations had mental health illnesses that they were unaware about. There's sometimes mom would tell me stuff about like, I don't know, like previous friends or even like older people that I talk to or whatever. They tell me about stuff that they knew someone going through.
Yeah.
And I've got a name for that, but then they didn't have the knowledge to know that, okay, yeah, this is depression, this is that. I do think there is that element of, you know what, suck it up, just do what you got to do. But there's a lot of people that weren't able to suck it up.
Yeah, no,
and then they had breakdowns and they'll be in mental health hospitals, and there was so much stuff going on. So I don't necessarily think, I think yesterday we are emotionally more aware. I would say that, yeah, I think we're more emotionally intelligent in this generation because we're able to identify, you know, feelings and this is anxiety and this is that. I don't know what they're doing back at but they didn't have that. Do you mean they didn't have that knowledge? So I don't think that the stats between depression and mental health illnesses in this generation and previous is that wide. The gap is that wide because again, they didn't know they were going through all of those things, and they were.
What about something like suicide rates then?
There's people back then who used to kill themselves, but the thing is, there was a label. Nowhere near us today. Yes, I would agree with that. But again, when people did that back in the day, it's like, oh, they looked down on them. Do you get what I mean?
Is it a case of, obviously there's a greater onus right now on mental health in it, and obviously the way we consume news and stuff is different. So like the platforms we use, news spreads fast. So back in the day, we wouldn't know as many cases of mental health because where are we going to hear this news from?
Yeah.
But because of social media, all these different platforms, we're highly aware.
Yeah.
Of who's going through what, mental health here, mental health there. Whereas back in the day, there was no way for us to find out who had mental health issues at all, unless you knew them personally.
Yeah, and that's a fact because even when you think about your circle, sometimes your friends are going through stuff you have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm going through stuff no one has a clue. Do you get what I mean? But I do think social media has definitely contributed to that.
We're hyper aware about what everyone's going through.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, no one was hyper aware about. You know what I mean? So mental health has always existed. It's just more so now in the forefront.
The awareness of it,
there's a big onus on it. There's a big onus on talking out, speaking up, not being quiet. There's less of an onus on being resilient. Yeah. Whereas back in the day, it was all about being resilient, powering through, trying to get over things. Now it's like, oh, talk to me. Like, what's wrong? Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying there's more of an onus on speaking now.
Yeah.
You know, just putting your cards on the table.
Feelings,
But when you know better, you do better, innit? So if there's things that we was doing back in the day that weren't really working for us, and now they got more information and stuff, and people are better off for it, then fair enough, But you can't deny that it's made people softer. Yeah. Like they make up all these things they want to give people. Like any kid that's got too much energy has got ADHD. How many youths I knew that was running around? These kids were wild. Now they're adults here. They're normal. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it's balanced out. But they couldn't even get that chance today. They'll tell them they got ADHD and be filling them with pills from when they're young. And then, like, you get what I'm trying to say? Like, everybody's just soft.
Yeah. Everybody's just soft.
Hello, caller.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. You're right, yeah?
Yeah, we're good, man.
Yeah, so, you know, this whole...
Sorry, what's your name? Like you guys what's your name and what's your age, please?
Tariq.
All right, thank you.
You saying you're right, yeah?
Yeah, we're good.
But yeah, like, you know, like the fact that like we are saying, well, the conversation we're having now is, oh yeah, the kids are soft. I don't think they're soft. I feel like, especially like when you've got a kid, like at the time, well, now, like, we kind of like make them actually like speak out how they feel. Whereas like when we were younger, that was never there.
That's a word.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yes, like they might speak about like they've got anxiety, like they feel a bit down and stuff like that. But like they have to speak it out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No, facts.
I agree with that.
That's kind of what I was saying. There's a bigger onus nowadays on speaking out.
Yeah.
And not keeping things to yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like back then children were seen and not heard. You didn't have time to talk about your feelings or anything like that. No one cared.
Yeah.
But now they can.
And exactly, like, and like obviously like all of us like growing up and stuff, like we never had that. And like, and you can actually see as well, like with like our peers, like where they're still struggling with some of the things like that they did not speak about from when we was younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I mean, I've got a kid, like he lives in America, and like I still have to speak to him about certain things like culturally as well, like, so whether it's like States related or like the UK related, you know, like even little things like where he's like, oh dad, but like why can't I just like live with you like in the UK, like, and I have to kind of like let him kind of speak that out rather than me just being like, yeah, but like you with your mom, like I support you, your mom supports you, like fix up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you not feel that strength comes from resistance? You know what I'm saying? Like if for example at the first wall, for example, we kind of hit and it's like, oh, this hurts, man. I need to speak to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not trying to belittle anything at all, right? But like back in the day, knowing you had certain obstacles to overcome and stuff, right? That would have made you more resilient. You know what I'm saying? It would have increased your ability to survive mentally, physically, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
If today there's somebody at every single juncture, right? Doesn't that make people softer?
No, like I think just because you're speaking about something and you're opening up about something doesn't mean you still don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I could tell you all the things I have to deal with and this is difficult, blah, blah. It's just an outlet for me. It's just a release. And then that clears my mind to be able to then come up with a solution to my issues or whatever. But when I don't feel like opening up takes away that problem. It doesn't, because no one can really fix your problem unless you fix it. Yeah. So you can have a therapist and you can tell your therapist and all the things you're going through. But as soon as that conversation ends, you go back to deal with your situation.
But then isn't it that it's like there's I guess that kind of promotes the need to have a dependent. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I need someone now to help me deal with this particular issue. Like back in the day, you could just be like, okay, cool. This is tough, but by myself,
but this
I'll
is the
figure it
thing.
out. You know what I'm saying?
Man, though, like, this is the thing, though, like, having a parent, like, you are dependent, though. This is the thing, like, that, like, your parents there, like, literally speak to about anything you're going through. So, yeah, so I don't think, like, it makes you, like, softer.
I think it's a bit different, though. Like, I feel like the parent obviously gives you guidance, gives you advice, all that beautiful stuff, right? But going into therapy, getting depression drugs, and you know what I'm saying, that's like a different level to me.
I think
because it's got that far though.
It's because they took the power away.
It's got to a point to where they need it now.
They took the power away from parents. Exactly. These are taking it in. Exactly. I'll tell you what messed up. When they said that you can't beat the youth them no more, everything went to hell. Everything went down.
No, but not beating your kids is always that's always been the case.
Man said, you know what? I'll tell you the answer. I'll tell you what did it.
I get that. Like, I mean, I used to get beat like when I was little, but I've never beaten my kid though.
But your kid's being rude, tearing down the yard, you fill him with licks a couple times, he's gonna fix up. Now you can't even do that. You got to send him therapy, and he's going to be mad, being rude to the therapist and thing. It's just a never-ending cycle. Like, it just don't get us nowhere. You get what I'm saying?
First of all, okay. Do you know what is there? I think part of the issues, is having to understand, and this might sound soft, but having to understand why your child is moving mad. Yes, there's some kids that are just bad vibes. I get it. You might raise an eyebrow. I get it. However, if you got your child, for example, who's just like defiant and again, these are conversations you need to have. I feel like having a parent
100%,
doesn't mean
100%.
just because you're a parent, you're an active parent, or you're in your child's life, doesn't mean that you make your child feel comfortable enough to want to tell you about stuff. You might tell them, you can come to me about anything and blah blah.
Yeah.
But they might see the way you interact with in other areas of life, and they feel like I don't think I can tell dad this because the way he acts with this and that, when it's me, he's probably gonna. Do you know what I mean? You just don't create that environment. So when your child is moving mad and being stupid, yes, there's some kids that are just bad vibes and just act like the devil is their dad. But these are things that need to be investigated into. Like you really need to look into these things.
And also, like this is a question for the two men with kids in the room, right? Would you encourage your daughter to speak to you when she has issues, or would you encourage 100%. Her to? So then, your notion then of dealing with it, is that more so to men?
No. It's both, right?
Okay.
Because I feel like I still believe people need to be able to learn how to deal with things themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so I would be there to guide, but I'm not gonna hold her hand and make her.
But
I
man,
can't do that.
But you know what it is, though? I'm sorry.
1 second. Describe what that means to you, though.
How?
Like holding her hand and making her soft.
No, but how are we gonna like expect people to learn how to deal with things if we don't teach them?
Yeah, you teach them. That's what I'm saying. But if you hold their hand, right, and deal with the issue for them, then it's an issue. You see what I'm saying? Because then you grow up not knowing how to deal with things yourself.
Do you know what it is? You know what it is? Okay, so basically, I've been doing a lot of thinking about like kids and stuff like that, And basically, when you have a child, this child is basically like a blank canvas, right? Everything the child learns in life is from you.
Yes.
So, for me, I think that helping your child through stuff, yes, you can instill the values of, being disciplined and being able to figure things out for yourself and blah, blah. But this child is literally here, just vibes, no clue what's going on. Why wouldn't you want to hold their hand through things?
Literally, and the kids are like sponges as well, like. So
because you know what? Because holding your child's hand through stuff doesn't mean that you're creating a weak child. Doesn't mean that when you're not there, the child will know how to handle things.
No, but it does sometimes, because what will happen is the child will turn around and look for you. You see what I'm saying? Like you have to go. Like there'll be a time where the parent won't be there. You have to go into the world, and if you had no practice, right? And I'm kind of weaning myself off of you, this, that, and the third, right? How is this child going to thrive and be strong when life really, you know what I'm saying?
But
really
do you know the reality of life here?
Where you go?
Sorry, Tariq, sorry. Do you know the reality of life is that, obviously we all want to live old and raise our children, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But that sometimes that doesn't happen. So for me, I'm going to hold my children's hands through stuff and raise them to understand, to raise them where if I'm not there, they can still do stuff. But say, for example, like, are you not holding your child's hand from the first hurdle, or you're doing like the first 4 hurdles and then from the 5th hurdle they do themselves? This holding hand analogy.
I'll basically hold their hand from the beginning, because they, like you said, they know nothing, right?
Yeah, but when the child is going through, like when they're a kid, that's different. They're dependent.
Okay.
But say the child's a teenager, from teenage stage, and they've got an issue that they're dealing with.
It depends on the issue, so it's kind of hard for me to say. But long story short, I wouldn't just leave them to just be in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay.
But I would obviously, depending on what it is, I'll be there. Make sure I'm here if you want to talk, this, that, and the third, right? But it'll come to a stage where I kind of will be like, okay, cool. Remember what I told you before. Remember how you got over this thing before? Take some time, think about it. Be smart. Do this, that, and the third. Okay. You have to allow them to be independent.
Okay, yeah.
Because in this world, especially as black people, you're not going to be afforded certain chances. You know what I'm saying? You have to be strong. And I know this is not necessarily the narrative that people want to hear, but the reality is this is how it is for us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to lie, right? Yeah. I know typically I may be known as somewhat of a toxic somebody, because I'm not an emotional person. I'm not sensitive.
You don't think we know that? No, you tell us something new.
Like, E-Man.
Yeah.
E-Man, listen though, like, I don't think I'm an emotional person either. Cool. But just because we're not emotional people does not mean like we have to kind of like pass that down to our kids.
No, 100%. Again, I'll be the first to say to you, I don't think it's necessarily the best trait to have. You know what I'm saying? In certain situations, it's not really the best thing. However, I'll prefer to be this way than the other extreme. You know what I'm saying? Because as a man, I feel like I need to be a particular way. You know what I'm saying? And for my son, 100% he has to be.
But then again, though, you don't. But yes, we need to be a certain way because that's what we've been programmed to be. But we do not need to pass that down to our kids.
Yeah.
This is my point.
When the world changes enough,
our trauma is our trauma, and we've all got like friends that are like literally not spoke to us about certain things, and all of a sudden like they're in the mud, like you know what I mean, like so we don't need to pass that down to our kids. Like I don't think there's anything wrong.
I get what you're saying. I get you. There needs to be a balance. Fully, again, I'll be the first to say I don't think my makeup is the best, right? But at the same time, I feel like there needs to be certain traits, right, that we can carry on and pass on to our kids to make sure they are resilient, because life gets tough and you can't be out there and crumble.
Do you know what it is about? Parenting? Crumble.
I'm telling you, it's facts.
But do you know what it is about parenting as well? Obviously, I'm not a parent yet, but again, this is why sometimes, because when I have conversations with people, sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, you're not a mum yet." Like, okay, I'm somebody's child, and I've made notes, and I know I'll be improving on things next when I get the chance to. But I think what people a lot of times it's like people have like a one size fits all.
Yeah.
For every child is different. You're gonna have a child who is very independent, doesn't really need you. Then you're gonna have another child where you need to kind of hold that child's hands more and so on. And I think sometimes the issue is that people have this idea of this is how I'm gonna parent. That's it. But the thing is, I don't think a lot of people realize how good or bad
every child
you
is
leave an
different,
imprint in your child. Do you get what I mean? For like how they end up growing up and stuff. Like I was even thinking about it the other day actually. I was thinking, I think when my kids are like growing up, I'm gonna put them in counselling. Just like as a here and there kind of thing. Just because again, because I'm somebody's child, I can tell my mum about anything. I can talk to her about anything, but for many different reasons, I don't. Right? I've grown up to not really open up to people and be vulnerable. Like these are things that I'm working through as an adult. So I'm very aware. Obviously, I don't know what my child's makeup is gonna be like. But I'm very aware that it doesn't matter what kind of environment I create for my child, I could be the most comfortable, the most open, everything. There's still certain things my child might not feel comfortable talking to me about or whatever. So I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put my child in counselling just so that there's other things. You know what I mean? That even school, I might be busy.
Man.
No, you will not. I might be busy. I might be, do you know what I mean? There's just so much that goes into being an adult sometimes that you can... I just think you need to pay more attention to like kids, but unfortunately, you don't really have all the time in the world to pay.
Why do we always like? Obviously, look here, we live and we learn, yeah. So like when you know, but you do better, innit? So there's certain things that might not have worked back a day, and you need to tweak them and stuff like that. Yeah, but then once we do that, why do we always condemn the old generation?
I'm not condemning that.
So wrong and so terrible, but all their teachings brought us where we are. Like they the ones who brought us to where we are, and we're all fine. We was all raised like that.
Are we fine? Are we? We're not
fine. Majority, the exceptions don't prove the rule, bro.
We're not fine. We're not
exceptions don't prove the rule. For the most part, we're cool. We're here.
No, but being
for
here,
some parts,
Marks, being here and being alive and being present doesn't mean
you're great.
No, we're fine.
That's what I mean.
We are now thriving.
They got us to
where we are now.
Marks, you can still thrive in life, in your career and whatever, and still be fucked up in the head.
I mean, damaged.
Come on, man.
Do you know what is? Okay.
Marks, yeah. I do agree. Like, obviously, like the older generation guys are here, but just about, we're all traumatized.
Yeah.
From like how they're parented. Do you know what I mean?
Listen.
Everybody's not traumatized by their parents.
Yeah, obviously not. Yeah, but that's obvious. Not everyone's. That's a stupid.
A lot of people are.
A lot of people are.
Like everybody's got to speak for themselves, innit? Like talk about you shouldn't beat kids. Like man grew up in a single parent household, like in a single parent home, like like we needed discipline, and we needed discipline. And like when I was rude, I got licks. It made me the man I am today. It instilled discipline in me. There's certain things I know not to do. I don't talk to my mum. I don't talk to adults in a certain way. I'm very respectful when I go places and stuff like that. This is because of things that was instilled in me. Some of it was iron fist. There's nothing wrong with that.
The thing is,
now if your kid's being rude to you, talking about therapy and like, you might need to box him in his mouth, tell him, yo, mind yourself, rude boy. What are you talking about?
Do you know what it is? I don't agree with like condemning everything that our parents did, blah, blah, blah. I don't agree with that. I think people can be very difficult, like harsh on the older generation. But again, I'm very aware that they did the best that they could with what they had. Some of them as well, when you look at their upbringing and the relationship they had with their parents and stuff, that had some damages to it. So for me, I'm very big on being... Like, my mum is an amazing woman. I grew up in a single parent household. She's amazing, blah, blah. But again, she's not perfect. And so there's things that I know that, okay, when I have a child, I'm going to want to do differently, blah, blah. So I don't think it's necessarily a thing of condemning the previous generation. But at the same time, I think, do you know what I really think it is? I think when you take time and you sit down and you really, really do some self-work and some reflecting and stuff like that, you will realize certain areas. Yes, you might be a great person today and blah blah, but there's tweaks that you can make here and there, and you will want to make those tweaks with your children. So I think with
100%.
with the what was it you said? I forgot it now.
Sorry,
But
thank
yeah.
you very much.
Sorry, Brent. Oh yeah, so we're gonna say bye to Tariq.
Yeah. Somebody else wants to call in.
Sorry. See you later,
Bless.
Bye.
Bye.
But
you very
yeah,
much.
in terms of that's what I was going with self-awareness. In terms of everybody being fine, and you know what? I'm thinking, okay, your parents did this, but yes, when you were a kid, because Nigerians love you appreciate when you grow older, blah blah, and that might be true for the most part. However, if you look deep within, there's some issues you need to address.
Yeah.
There really is.
Caller.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys, man. What's going on, guys?
All good.
Good.
How are you?
I can tell this is a disciplinarian. I can hear it.
Yeah, innit?
I hope it goes against what you guys said.
What's your name, please?
Listen, my name is Kojo.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, Kojo.
Yes, what's going on? I think I'm gonna sound like I'm going against the man them still. I'm gonna sound like I'm going against
Love
them.
that for you, King.
And hold on. By man them, you mean
No,
Mark?
he means Iman, yeah. He means Iman.
I'm not with those niggas.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's make it clear.
Yes. Yeah, it's gonna be Mark and Iman. Like you guys aren't totally wrong to me, but I just feel like too many men have a struggle fetish, and it's just it's unnecessary. Like, why do you not want good for who's next? Like, why does it have to be repetition and hardship and soldiers when there's sometimes the fights that we used to fight aren't here no more, and that's okay, and we can want better.
The fight's still going on. That's the problem.
It's not the same type of fight.
I think people definitely glorify
It's a different
struggle.
kind of fight.
Of course they do.
People love a struggle.
Too much.
Gosh.
Like too much. Like you man sound like the parents that like, oh, like I had to work. I had to walk 50 miles to work and that. I had to do this and that. I had to like, come on, man. Like,
got trains today.
We heard our parents do that, and this is it's like electric scooters and that. Yeah,
exactly.
Like, there's that. So.
Look, it's not as bad as it was back in the day, yeah, but these things present themselves in different ways, man. Like, you still got to be strong, like, man. Kids are getting shot in the street and nothing ain't being done about it. No,
but Marks, we ain't saying raise kids with no resilience and no fire, and we ain't saying that. There has to be a healthy balance.
Exactly.
But you guys, I feel,
I hear that.
Are talking more into the, just leave them to themselves.
No, it's not that, man. You still got to parent and guide them, right? But again, Frederick Douglass says there's no progress without struggle.
Frederick Douglass, you know.
Man.
Take your Malcolm X posters off your wall, bruv. Like,
I'm telling.
Frederick Douglass said,
no, watch this.
1962, we gonna what a reparations.
No, but
find the power.
It's fact though. Listen,
raise your fist.
Watch this, right? Wherever you are in life, right? Have you got there easily?
I know.
Honestly.
No, it is. The Frederick Douglass thing is so funny, bro.
Forget that.
Oh my gosh.
Forget that.
You're so in that bag. It's hilarious.
No, but it's fact though. There's no progress.
Carry on.
There's no progress without struggle. You know what I'm saying? And wherever you are in life, right? Have you got there easily?
No.
Have you not had to deal with things?
I'm not saying there shouldn't be a struggle. I think this. If I'm honest with you, yeah.
Some people have.
I'm about to walk out the room in 5 minutes ago. This conversation is kind of triggering for me, right? I was about to say, you know what? Let me take 5 because I got mental health in my family. I've seen relationships between my father and my sister, and like what Mark was saying, everyone deals with things differently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? My dad disciplined us kind of in the same way, but everyone turned out differently because we all took it differently, innit? We're all our own individuals. Like Mark was saying, we all, if you look at our lives, we're all striving, It don't mean that up here that everything's right.
I agree.
That's it.
My older sister,
It's true.
her life is way different from mine. Same household, same parents. But why? Because she took differently to the discipline and the relationship between her and my dad. So for me, this conversation is very triggering. You know what I mean?
And that's what I'm saying about like each child is different. It can't be a one size fits all because every child has different personalities. Every child has different ways that they're gonna deal with stuff. So it just can't be a discipline this way or this is what I'm gonna instill with this child. What a child might need. I wasn't someone who needed conversations about making commitments and like discipline and stuff like that. However, my other sibling might be that child who needs that more of that lesson and more of that teaching. But I think parents need to look at kids as like blank canvases who already have their makeup, the way God has put into them, and you can pour whatever you want to put and draw whatever you want to draw into this canvas, but you don't know what the image is going to turn like. And I think it's just being more aware of that. There's a lot.
Trust me, I fully get what you're saying, and I agreed with you when you were saying every child is different.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes a good parent, being able to, you know what I'm saying, tailor your discipline to each child. But each child, to me, needs discipline, and each child needs to be able to leave that house and go into the world and be resilient. And if we're holding their hand, giving a blanket, hold your hand, don't worry, life's going to be okay, I'll do this for you and this, that, and the third, we're going out there and we are becoming failures as parents. Because if them children can't do what they're meant to do in life, what was your job? But the thing is,
I think you're talking from an extreme example. I don't think parents are out there babying their children every step of the way.
Can I just say something here? Because obviously, I'm speaking to a certain mindset, my own experience, So obviously, like in a 2-parent household and stuff, I think that the discipline and stuff is going to be different. I'm speaking to growing up in a single-parent household and not having much examples of family and everybody that I knew growing up with a single mother and stuff. So when you're growing up in these estates and in these areas, like kids growing up in Hackney, Brixton, Tottenham, wherever it may be, I'm still just thinking single-parent household, and I'm saying discipline and certain things got to be installed if you've got young boys growing up in these areas, because you're just cutting the parents' legs off. You're just going to lose these kids to the streets. You know what I'm trying to say? Yep. So my opinion is only coming from one mindset. I'm not even thinking about happy home, family, mum, dad, boom, 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 because then the experience is going to be different, innit? So I'm speaking from a bit of bias, if that makes sense. When I'm talking to people that grew up the way I did, and if I had a child that's going to grow up the way I did, I would want to install the things that was installed in me, so he's going to be all right. Not in this generation, because I think if you raise them like this, they're going to be screwed.
And also, thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you, Kojo. Have a nice day.
No problem, guys. No problem.
The next caller is going to be a mother with children ranging from 17 years to 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. So, good range. Oh, we should talk.
Oh, she's here. I thought she was on the line.
She's going to call in.
Okay. Right. Yeah, it is true, because I think that's the thing with these conversations, that everyone talks from their experience. Do you know what I mean? Like, I grew up in a single parent household. I didn't really know that. I didn't feel the absence of a father until I grew up to know how, I guess, children were, like, the biology of a child being here. Because my mum never made me feel the absence of my father in my life. Is when I grew up, and again, growing up and having to understand, actually, that did have its effects. As much as I grew up in a great household, as much as I had everything I ever wanted, and I was raised by my grandparents, my grandma and my granddad, I had to grow as an adult, realize the effects that still not having that father. So my mum did the best she absolutely could. But again, there's still effects of these things that's left in the kids.
Yeah. I think there's learning that everyone's got to do at every generation. You know what I'm saying? It's part of it, man.
But the older generation, they're in denial anyway, because they got some problems they're trying to address.
Hello.
Is it coming there?
Hello.
Okay.
All right. Hello.
Oh, here we go.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
We can hear you.
This is a malfunction.
We can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay. We're gonna have to.
But you might have to hang up and then maybe call her back.
Yeah. But yeah, man.
I said I got discipline and still touch road. Yeah, but what brought me back to the flock? You get me? When I tried to get my mind right.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Can you hear us?
It seems like you can't hear us.
Is this on WhatsApp or normal call?
Can't hear you guys.
WhatsApp.
Oh, man.
Call by...
that's a shame.
Yeah, call it normal. Sorry, Miles, what are you saying?
No, because someone's in the chat said that I got disciplined and I still touched the road. But like, you can't stop those things. But I'm saying it's the things that was installed in me, helped in the way I conducted myself when I was on the roads. And it's the things that when I was mature enough and ready to make a change in my mind.
Good morning, guys.
Be normal. It's the things that was installed in me that helped me come back home, innit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us?
Hello?
No, still no.
Might have to leave this one alone.
Yeah, we might have to So I send a voice note in, I'm afraid. Gotta move on.
What we do? Are we going down this list of things, or are we?
Nah, I think okay. Maybe this last question. Do you feel like the men are softer today, Esther?
First of all, for me, the hot seat. No, I don't, because you know what it is. I think I think growing up, I saw a lot of men who didn't, talk about whose bones is that?
That's Marx's.
Bloody hell, sir, you need to.
Who, me?
Was that your bones? Were you just stretching and your bones are cracking?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Goodness me, Margs.
She's still can't hear us.
You need a massage.
Hey,
The hell is wrong with you?
Don't make a scene. Don't make a scene.
You made a scene with the noises you're making. But yes, I think with men, so I grew up with like men being all like, oh, tough and not showing their feelings and not showing their emotions and blah, blah. And all that stuff, it just sounds like struggle to me. And I don't like struggle. And I've dated men like that. You can't open up, who can't do this. And honestly, it's like fighting it's like fighting a losing battle. So I don't think men are softer today. I love men who can be open, who can be vulnerable, who are disciplined, who have these things, but they can talk about their feelings. They can talk about the fact that, you know what, I'm not feeling great still, blah, blah, or they suffer a loss and they absolutely cry. Because the thing is, a lot of people, obviously a lot of men are raised to, be a man, and I hate that. I think we need to really abolish that, be a man. We need to stop that. We really need to stop that. But yeah, that be a man and blah, blah, all those mindsets are very dangerous, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because all it does is then men grow up and they have very toxic and damaging qualities that doesn't help when it comes to raising a family. Doesn't help when they're in relationships. Doesn't help when they become parents themselves. It doesn't help them, as far as I'm concerned, in society at all. So now I don't think men are like soft anything. Softer. I think it's needed, because I think it's about balance. It's about a man being able to, I'm the head of the household. I do what I need to do. I graft. I do that. Blah 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 blah. But at the same time, when he loses his parent, he cries.
Yeah.
How are you losing your parent and you're not crying? Are you a witch?
I think men who almost glorify not being vulnerable, not being emotional, not being, emotionally intelligent. I think that's weak. I think that displays a lack of range. It's kind of toxic. It's limiting you as a person. Yeah. And I just think it's so old fashioned.
It is old, yeah.
I think it's wrong as well. I don't think men are softer. I think men are more aware of themselves, more in tune with the emotions. I feel like now they're given a space to speak out and to talk. And
so you think it's just the women then?
And it ain't. What's that?
So you think it's just the women then?
That was softer.
Yeah, because initially we all agreed that the generation was softer, and now you say no, you don't think men are.
But when this conversation is about different things, innit? I'm talking more so in terms of expressing themselves, not so much dealing with things, innit? Dealing with things is different than being able to open up and to talk. And I feel like labeling men soft for being open and being vulnerable is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know this as well. Can I just say that a lot of men who aren't able to be vulnerable, aren't able to be open. Yeah. That manifests in poor ways. Like that manifests in the way they just get like rage out of nowhere, and their anger, in the way they in the way they see women, in the way they talk to women. Honestly, it really does, because again, they can't they don't know. I think to not be able to express how it is that you're feeling. That is a big flaw.
That's a flaw. And also because even with me, for example, I feel like I've got a great balance.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm vulnerable, I'm open, I'm emotional, but at the same time, I'm very resilient, very strong, very tough, right?
Yeah.
When I come across men who pop up their chest like they're better, or because I look at them like idiots.
Yeah.
Really and truly I do, because like that's not the way you should be.
Yeah, but I'll be honest, I see those men as weak as well.
Yeah, but what type of men just go up there and just like... What strong men just go up there and purposely just try and stick out their chest?
No, but you know what? A lot of men...
Like strong men, though.
What do you mean strong how?
I don't get the question.
Because you're basically saying you look at them as idiots and that
basically
they're the weak ones,
men,
right?
Men who glorify not being vulnerable. Men who glorify not dealing with their issues. Men who glorify not speaking out. I look at them as weak.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do the same thing too, because for me, I'm just like, you might want to address some of them issues. And I think, for me, I just always think as well, you're kind of overcompensating. But I just think it's very damaging, man. Men like that is very damaging as far as I'm concerned, because you see in the way they are, you see in the way they conduct themselves in society, you see in the relationships. And for me, what always bugs me the most, because I guess a woman, if you don't want to be with the person, or you can walk away, but for me, it's the kids and how they then instill those things in the kids. And again, men like that, they're not aware that every child is different. So you got a child who you do need to be a bit more gentle towards, and you're doing the whole world, be a man thing. Bro, it's a kid.
Again, there's balance though, isn't it? Like, I think it is silly to kind of tell a young boy to be a man.
Too many people do it though. But that's the thing, because do you know, as much as saying balance, not many people have balance.
Yeah,
and that is the problem with today.
Yeah.
So it sounds silly to you because it's something that you would do, but I've witnessed a kid falling over or something, being upset about it, and dad's like, be a man. What are you crying for? Only girls cry. No, this is serious. I'm serious. And the kid's like 4 or 5.
Hey.
But again, that's the thing. That's the thing with these issues, that you never know what it's gonna manifest into, and that here is the bigger problem.
Yeah. All right. I hear you.
Yeah. All right. We're ready to move on.
Yeah.
That's that on that. Don't be your kids on this. Take your kids to therapy, man. Anyways, let's get into the next headlines.
Headline, trigger warning here. And police investigating the murder of 19-year-old Leah Croucher have found human remains at her property where some of her possessions were discovered. Thames Valley Police earlier found her rucksack and personal items at a house in Milton Keynes. The teenager was last seen on CCTV in the city on the 15th of February 2019. Formal identification has not taken place, but Mr. Croucher's family were being kept informed, the force said. A spokesperson said it's likely to take some time to formally identify the deceased. Officers have been at the property since 6:30 on Monday p.m. after they received information from a member of the public, and said on Wednesday that a murder investigation had begun after her possessions were found. Later, human remains were discovered during forensic examinations. We will keep you posted once more information comes to light. And this next headline is sad, man. It's definitely a trigger warning here as well. And a so-called devout Christian forged her friend's will after killing and decapitating her in order to get a large sum of money to repair her home, a court has heard. Gemma Mitchell, 38, from Willesden in northwest London, is accused of murdering Mi Kwen Chong, who was also known as Deborah. Miss Mitchell is alleged to have disposed of her body more than 200 miles from London in Devon in June of 2021. Miss Chong's body was discovered decapitated in Woodland near Salcombe. Miss Mitchell, who is on trial at the Old Bailey, has denied murder. Miss Chong, who's 67, from Wembley in northwest London, was reported missing from her home on the 11th of June 2021. Jurors previously heard on Tuesday that Miss Chong's remains were found 16 days later, lying at the bottom of some steps near Salcombe, and the area was cordoned off and an extensive search began. 4 days later, however, her head was discovered about 10 meters away in undergrowth. The jury also heard that Miss Mitchell had studied osteopathy, and her professional website said she was attuned to subjects in neuroanatomy, genetics, and the dissection of human cadavers. On the second day of Miss Mitchell's trial, jurors heard that during the search of her home, a will was found in Miss Chong's name. Dina Hare, KC, who's prosecuting, said that the document appointed the defendant as one of the trustees. Jurors heard that apart from some specific gifts to charity, the will purported to leave 95% of the deceased's estate to the defendant, to be applied for the benefit of Miss Mitchell's projects, and 5% to the defendant's mother. Again, Miss Kerr, who's prosecuting, said in this case, it's clear that the motive was money.
That's the thing when you're a liar. You don't know how to lie with sense. 95% to use to get to a new home and 5% for her mum.
Yeah.
Couldn't try and make it believable.
Sad, man.
That's so sad, man.
But yeah, that's the end of the headlines, man.
Yeah, put that woman in jail. All right, let's get into Word on Road. Today, I'm going to start with football. This is ridiculous, isn't it? But Enock Mwepu, do you guys know that guy?
Yeah. Did we speak about yesterday?
Okay, never mind then. I'm going to move to the next one. Sorry, guys, I wasn't here. That's
He's got a
good.
bad mind. I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna let you get your shit off.
Thank you. Do
I
you know?
wasn't even gonna say anything.
And do you know what's mad?
I swear to
Because I
God.
know that Marks have acted as if this is the first time he was hearing it.
No, but
Facts.
if you didn't say, do you guys know who it is? I would have let you go.
No, but I
If you
said
asked,
no,
I
but
thought, yeah, I have.
and this happened
I
before the
use our
exams.
bad
I said,
mind.
do you
I
know
was
who he
fully
is?
prepared to let her get her shit off.
Oh, thank you, Marks. I
Get me?
appreciate you.
Can we hear your version?
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're hearing nothing. Let me get back into what is more my speed. I'm out here trying to cater to everyone's needs. Anyways, Real Housewives, a bit of news on Real Housewives side. So Nene leaks. Did you guys talk about that too? Okay. Go make
What do you think?
Go make sure. So basically, Nene, she has 2 sons, and one of her sons is 23. His name is Brent. So he's the one she shared with her husband Greg. So unfortunately, he basically had a heart failure and a stroke at the age of 23. And it basically came out in the news. I think he went through that 2 weeks ago, but obviously she's trying to keep it as, as hush-hush as she possibly can. But she basically had to come out and talk about it because the news leaked. And she just said how, it's at the age of 23, obviously it's not something that you would expect to happen at that age. And the doctors are basically trying to figure out what it's come from. Has it come from has it come from HIV? Has it come from COVID? Has it come from just what it is that made that? And at the
Doesn't
moment,
he have no pre-existing conditions? It's just like he just. Oh, okay.
No. I mean, he is overweight. So I don't know if maybe that's one of the reasons why. But she didn't really say. She just said that basically the doctors have not been able to find anything exactly what the cause of it is. So it's just sad news. 'Cause obviously recently as well, I think a year ago, she lost her husband, Greg. He was battling with cancer for many years. So he was battling with cancer for many years. So it's sad that obviously with her son as well, she could have lost her son. So hopefully he gets better really, really soon and nothing else, nothing happens and they're able to find the cause and the root of this issue. And I know she was saying how, they look at whether the person drinks a lot of alcohol as well or whether it's drugs and stuff, but he doesn't do any of that. So it's just, it's a lot to have to deal with, trying to figure out, what's going on with that and how we got that disease. And then next as well, also sad news is Brandy also suffered a seizure. So apparently she had an incident in her home and she had to be hospitalised because she suffered a seizure. And but she has posted that she is getting better. She said, "To my beloved fam, friends and stars, thank you for sending love and light to my way. I am following doctor's orders and getting the rest I need due to dehydration and low amounts of nutrition. Thank you for your prayers and support. Grateful for you all. See you soon." So hopefully as well, she gets better really, really soon. So at the moment, the family's kind of going through a lot. Obviously, Ray J's been dealing with the stuff he's been dealing with the Kardashians. But recently, his posts have been a bit worrying.
Like a suicidal person.
Yeah. So trigger warning. So yeah, he's basically had a suicidal post. He's also kind of gone like off the radar with stuff. And you don't know Ray J. He loves the social media, that guy. So hopefully, they're able
I seen with Wendy Williams. What's going on there?
You saw Ray J with Wendy Williams?
I saw a picture like that going around today on Twitter. I don't know if it's old or what, but that's what I see.
Yeah, I think it's old because they're family friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're family friends. They're quite cool. I think, did they date?
I hope not.
Who and who?
No,
Why'd you hope not?
Huh?
You heard me.
What, Ray J and
Wendy and Ray J. No, it was Whitney Houston that Ray J dated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's Wendy. But yeah, man. So hopefully Brandy gets better and also Ray J as well. Hopefully he feels good. This is why anyway, yeah. And then next on my list is Real Housewives again. Cynthia and Mike Hill. So Cynthia Bailey, she's a model and everything. She's a little woman. So they've basically been married for like a year and they broke up. But one thing about Cynthia, one thing I love about women these days is that they can get married when they want to. Like Cynthia, sis is going to get married. She's going to find love and she's going to move on. But yeah, so she announced that she put up a post actually, and it says, "Love is a beautiful thing. While we both will always have love for one another, we have decided to go our separate ways. We are grateful that we remain good friends and will always cherish the many memories we've shared together as husband and wife. Many of you have been on this journey with us from the very beginning, and we appreciate our family, friends, and beloved fans for your positive support as we move forward and start new chapters. Thank you for your prayers and well wishes." So, yeah, but I just love the fact that when a situation is no longer serving Cynthia, she moves on. She dealt with her first husband. This is her second husband now. And no doubt this will get a third if that's what she desires. I just love that so much for her. But yeah, hopefully as well she's good. And then next on my list is, sorry, this document keeps, and then sad news as well. This is very sad today. But yeah, so Kevin Hart's dad sadly passed away. Oh, wow. So if you listen or watch anything to do with Kevin Hart, you know obviously his dad was a figure in his life. He spoke about, he's been very open about, what he struggled with his dad in terms of his dad being on drugs and dealing with drugs and, kind of being absent in his life. And so I was recently reading his book. Very, very good book. It's called I Can't Make This Up. And he talks about his upbringing and like his journey into comedy and all that kind of stuff. Very inspiring. And he talks about, with his dad stuff. And I guess he's growing to the point, this is, again, healing and working on yourself and awareness and therapy, all that great stuff. But yeah, he's worked on himself to a point where he realizes that his dad was basically fighting his own battles. And the things that he suffered as a result of his dad's, situation wasn't personal to him. So, and I'm very glad as well, knowing how he speaks about his dad. And obviously a lot of his sketches as well have been, about his dad. Yeah. So knowing that, he was in a position where he was able to make amends with his dad and be able to, I guess his dad could enjoy the fruits of, Kevin being who he is. And obviously if anyone who follows Kevin as well, he lost his mum like when he was much younger. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be able to, show people that who you appreciate them while they're alive. But his caption says, R.I.P. to one of the realest and rawest to ever do it. Love you, Dad. Gone but never forgotten. Give Mum a hug for me. Y'all did good, man. Thank you for everything. I'm a better father because of you. We will all make you proud. And this is what I'm saying, what I was talking about earlier on the topic of the day, is that you take what your parents have taught you, not because they necessarily did like a bad job, but you just find out ways to improve it. And essentially that's what he did. Because when I was watching his book, Brent, is the feed all right?
No, they better like the video. Tell them like the video.
Oh, this is a new thing.
Yeah, if they don't like it, you just put it on.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, well, you'll like the videos then. But
they are under duress.
That is too funny. But
go to at least 100 user, man. Focus, man. Like the video so you can focus.
See. Yes, true. You guys can do better than that. Come on. But yeah, man. So it's just it's nice to that he was able to reconcile with his dad, because in one of the stories he told about his dad, and obviously his dad dealing with drugs and stuff like that, he was saying how one time his brother went to prison, and then after that he enrolled in the army, and then it was cool. Then he basically had a wife and then had a child, but then his brother was trying to do better with his life, and he basically decided he was going to start up a barber business, right? And he literally had been saving, working hard for everything. And then, but at the time, he wasn't talking to his dad. So Kevin kind of, I guess, helped them get that relationship back together. So his dad's like, you know what, I'm going to do, I'll help you do the building works. I'll help you do all the building and electricity and all that kind of stuff in the shop. Cool. So they're all going well. He was like, it was a lovely family time, blah, blah, blah. They come to the shop one day, the shop is clean. As in, everything is gone. He was getting ready to open in like the next couple of days. And unfortunately, his dad had relapsed, and his dad stole every single thing from the shop, every single equipment. Not one thing was left behind. Do you get what I mean? So he talks about that as well. But yeah, I'm just glad that he was able to make amends while he could. Yeah, and then the last bit as well is yesterday, Stormzy announced that he will be dropping an album, and the album is going to be called "This Is What I Mean." And hold on, sorry. It looks good, the track list. So, like Mel Made Me Do It is not on there. It's not one of the songs. I guess that was really, like you said, his comeback.
Yeah, it's a little...
Yeah, his promo comeback thing. Yeah. So his album, This Is What I Mean, will be out on the 25th of November. It's ordered for pre-order. It's available for pre-order and pre-saving, all that stuff now. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 12 songs in there. Nothing about features, anything. It's just... The
presentation looks very boring, though.
Does it?
The album cover, this is the album cover, it's a letter on a doormat and a door. And then the track list is it just looks hella boring.
I love stuff like that.
Is it?
I feel like it's going to be like very
This fills me with no excitement.
Because I feel like, because Stormzy, so obviously he's been off socials for like 2 years, which, gosh, what a dream. I love that. But And then he's back on socials. I feel like he's taking time away to heal, to do everything that he needs to do, as in to heal as a person. So I think it's going to be a really, really good good album.
I'm actually excited about this album.
I'm very excited about it.
I want to hear it. If it's in keeping with the stuff that he's been doing since Clash and that, then it should be.
I think it's going to be sick. And I'm expecting for him to take us to church a couple of times on a couple of tracks on there.
You guys are bigger Stormzy fans than me then.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really, really looking forward to it. So yeah, that's good news to end on. But yeah, should we get into People's Journal? Lovely, let's do it.
The People's Journal, where I give you the news from an economics point of view. I'm going to be quite brief today, and the first thing I want to talk about is Putin basically saying that the gas taps, which they turned off for the various reasons that they've come up with, don't have to remain that way. Basically, long story short, they've not delivered gas to Europe via the Nord Stream 1 line since August. We spoke about that on the show. And Nord Stream 2 also was kind of stopped after Russia invaded Ukraine. Obviously, this led to, the gas prices raising, and obviously all of us are facing crazy record tariffs for our energy this winter, right? But Germany basically tried to get in there, basically said they're rejecting Putin's offer to send gas via the Nord Stream 2. Because obviously that kind of stopped because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And also, as we all know, Russia pretty much have been accused of using gas supplies as a weapon against the West, right, since this whole invasion. But he's come out and basically said the ball, as they say, is now in the European Union's court. Let them just open the tap. We do not limit anyone in anything. He said, adding that Moscow was ready to supply additional volumes of gas in the autumn-winter period. Obviously, due to the sanctions, nobody's willing to really do that because obviously he doesn't want to relent. He still wants to continue with his invasion of Ukraine. Like we said before, he's tried to annex 4 different regions in Ukraine already. Ukraine has taken back, I think, 2 of those. But he still has that Russian domination mindset, you know what I'm saying? And he's not looking to relent.
It's a man that was disciplined a bit too much, wasn't it?
Potentially. But he became the president. But anyway.
I don't know if that's the who you want to die or where you want to take that conversation.
The man is one of the most powerful people in the world.
At what cost? The Ukrainians would say different.
Hey, well, he's fine. Anyway.
And they're not.
On to lighter themes, right? We kind of touched on this before as well. Remember we were talking about, them US candy sweet shops in Oxford Street?
Oh, yeah.
And how people are saying it's probably a front for certain things, right? Well, yeah. The council, I think it's Westminster Council, right? They've seized more than £200,000 worth of counterfeit goods from those shops, right? So basically fake designer watches, unsafe vapes, children's toys, power banks, everything that you can think of.
They were selling all of that in that sweet shop.
I don't know what they were doing. They were maybe hoarding it and selling it out the back. I don't know what they were doing, right? But they definitely weren't selling sweets because nobody buys from these guys, right? But yeah, man, they've confiscated like 200 grand worth, man. So yeah, it's not looking too good. The council came out and said, we're cracking down on dodgy sweet shops, which leave a sour taste in the mouth for people who go in them.
They need to do W. Smith next.
What, W. Smith still?
I don't know.
You don't like W. Smith?
I'm not. It's got nothing to do with me. I just think something ain't right with that business. They're still around. COVID and all. They're still around. So
yeah, but W. Smith, they got the essentials.
Kids are doing their homework on the computer these days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we still need a A4 pad every now and again. And
now
birthday cards,
Ain't nobody buying things. No one's buying the cards from W. Smith. Boy.
All right, and the last thing is, I don't know how to start this, but anyway, I'll just jump in, right? Also, we spoke about Alex Jones, right? He's a conspiracy theorist. He's the guy who basically falsely claimed, that the Sandy Hook school shooting in 2012 was a hoax. So he's basically said actors were all involved in this, right? And this is part of the government trying to get involved in certain things. Basically, the whole thing was fake. Because of that, the families of the victims basically sued him.
Good.
He lost in court. We reported on this. But now they've actually come out with a figure he has to pay.
Good.
Do you guys want to hazard a guess?
Well, like, it's American, isn't it?
American, yeah.
Yeah, they love to go wild with their numbers. Maybe like $25 million.
Okay. Yusuf?
Just add 10 million on top of that.
Okay. Marks?
I think there's a couple 100 million or something.
Marks is closest, man.
Really?
900.
Okay. Okay.
Stop the foolishness. Stop the foolishness, please.
But they want new life?
This guy.
The heck?
900.
What is wrong with people?
$968 million in damages.
Do you know what's mad about America? Yeah.
You think these Americans play?
They
Less than
don't.
20 million. They don't play no games.
But you know what's mad though?
Triple figures.
The judge is going to give them $5 million. That'll be that. They do so high with the numbers and they get like peanuts after that.
Right. No, but this is not what they're suing for, you know. This is what he's been ordered to pay.
Oh, he has to pay?
Oh,
He has
ordered
to
to pay.
pay this, yeah.
Does he have it?
Of course,
But this is what I was saying to Brent. Brent saying, yeah, like this
dude
guy,
was making
he's got it.
300 million a year.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got it.
Oh, he has the money for that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got it. I hope he's got
We have
savings.
to find a buddy.
Because I'm about to do payment plan. A clown on that. Give
No,
my money.
no, hold on. You said he's making 300 million a
He
year.
was making
Yeah.
300 million a year.
At some point, yeah, in his thingy.
Yeah, we
You
know.
know Alex Jones?
No, I don't know that.
He's like one of the biggest conspiracy theorist guys out there.
Yeah, to be fair though, he deserves that because you can't do stuff like that. That's very insensitive to the victims, the families of the victims.
I guess he legitimately believed it was fake.
Well, I
Oh,
wonder.
he was making 300 million a year. How?
Yeah, go on, Brent.
Broadcast and stuff.
Oh, just through his content.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
and
and products,
sponsorships and
yeah.
donors and all sorts.
Oh,
And he was selling a lot of products like via his website.
okay.
Stuff that will prepare you for Armageddon and the apocalypse. And
And people were buying it.
300 million a year.
That's wild.
That guy's big entertainment in America. You
I'm
know?
telling you.
Nah, I'm glad you should pay that.
He's a serious guy, you know.
That's our order.
What's his name? Alex Scott. Which one is he again?
Alex Jones.
Jones.
Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Let me see if I know him.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know him,
you've
you know
seen
him.
him
If you see him, you know him.
Let me Google this picture.
That is so funny.
Yeah, man.
So does he still believe that he's right?
No, he's come out and apologized.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
It's
It
too
was
late,
just a
though.
little too late. Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, I know Alex Jones.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he argued for years, man, that it was all staged. It was the government.
Looks like Weinstein.
That's who it
Does
was.
he?
I couldn't remember whether it was him
Yeah, to me, doesn't it?
or Meghan Markle's dad. He looks.
Yeah, they got the same vibe.
Yeah, they're doing it. Creep.
Yeah, man. He basically was because he's for what do you call it? Like Americans being allowed to have guns and stuff.
What's he?
So he believed this is part of the government strategy to kind of
Defer.
come out with a reason to be like, see, this is why we shouldn't have guns.
Yeah, but that was in 2012. How many shootings? There's crazy. That's I heard one time the statistics of shootings there is in America. It's like a daily. It's mad.
Yeah,
So
it's mad, man.
his theory was always false anyway because that didn't push any kind of laws.
Yeah, but you know, let's start somewhere, innit?
So you gotta put your money where your theory is.
Yeah, sad, man. And yeah, that's you know what? I'll end it there. That's it for the People's Journal today.
Yeah. All right. Well, lovely. Well, we've got an exciting interview for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time. Let's get into it.
Yeah. You pausing the live here, Brent?
Yeah.
Yeah, he paused it.
us today. Her name is Ngozi, and she's a mental health and leadership expert. She does coaching, and she has a consultancy company as well. She encourages women of faith in terms of business and all that great stuff. We're going to get into all of that. And also, she's the CEO and founder of Frontline Therapist. There's not.
Yeah, it's fixed. Don't make a scene, please, Max. Thank you very much.
Isn't it? Interrupting people's introductions over here.
Exactly.
Goodness, can't get the staff. But yeah, so she's also the CEO and founder of Frontline Therapist. Yes, we have the lovely Ngozi with us. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Brent, we're not going to get what? Like applause thing?
Yeah.
It's on the same applause, isn't it?
I haven't shortened it yet.
Don DeMarco.
It goes, it's short.
No, I've just cut it off.
Oh, okay, lovely, thank you. But yeah, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How's everyone?
We're good. Yeah.
Can't complain. All good.
Lovely. So we have a game that we like to play with our guests.
Okay.
And we basically ask you questions. Some of them are like preferences, and some of them are, there's a right answer to them.
Okay.
And we do it over a beat. So we're going to start. Yeah?
Yep.
Are you ready, Ngozi?
No, but go ahead.
Also, we have like a leadership board, so with all our guests. So I'm rooting for you, sis. I'm hoping that you'll be the top.
Don't bet.
Look at Mark. Look at Mark's like one disgruntled kid in the corner.
Like a naughty corner, innit?
I can't play.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
So who is known as the father of psychoanalysis?
Freud.
Angry shouting or angry silence?
Angry silence.
If you're talking the hardest, who better pop up in your thoughts as the highest?
Say that again?
If you're talking the hardest, who better pop up in your thoughts as the highest?
Oh, gigs.
There you go.
What Afrobeat artist has more vowels in his name than consonants?
Davido.
Okay.
Nigeria or Biafra?
Biafra. Woo!
Who is the president? Who is the present deputy prime minister of the UK?
Okay. What country called for the year of return in 2019?
Oh, Ghana.
Nicki or Cardi B?
Neither.
How old was the Queen when she passed away?
96.
Which African country does Ms. Banks originate from?
Uganda and Nigeria.
G-Unit or Dipset?
Ooh. Dipset.
Come on.
See, because you want to do ad-lib.
Also, that gigs one, bruv. That's a top.
Yeah, because you know what? She asked you again, and the second time you didn't even say anything. I didn't know how you clocked that. Because you didn't say anything.
It was the cadence of what I said. You know, E-man, the cadence. You know, it was.
I think you did really well.
Hey, that might be the best, you know.
I think that is the best. It is the best. See, I told you, yes, love it. Yeah, that is definitely the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the Davido one.
Yeah, I don't know. Who's got the consonants?
Oh, we said Ashake. That's the first thing I said.
Oh.
I think Davido's one's equal. Yeah, it's 3 each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works.
Okay. So I think that's the only one you got wrong. Oh, and the deputy prime minister. Yeah.
Which is?
Therese Coffey. Yeah. But yeah, that was good, man.
Okay, lovely. So we want to get into, what it is that you do, who you are, all that great stuff. So could you let us know, please?
Oh, this is the introduction. Okay. Hearing your voice back is a bit funny. So
really? Don't you like your voice?
Yeah, but you don't want to hear it back.
I talk a lot, so I'm used to it now.
So my name is Ngozi Cadmus. I am, as you said, a mental health and leadership expert, founder of Frontline Therapist. I'm a qualified social worker, psychotherapist, and business coach. And I coach women of faith to become leaders, and I also consult with organisations and corporations to train and identify their black talent in their pipeline and to get into leadership positions. And I'm also doing my doctorate.
Oh, sick.
And a wife. I didn't forget your husband.
Oh, lovely. Love that. What is psychotherapy?
So psychotherapy is, I guess, what we would call talking therapy.
Okay.
Can be interchangeable with counselling, but there is a difference. But essentially, it's you're talking to a trained professional about life, and that can be past, present, and future. Okay. And essentially, it's the process of the unconscious process of, I guess, dealing with unresolved issues and things that are impacting you in your day to day.
Okay, that's interesting. What? Because I think I've heard with counselling, that's a different type of therapy. Is it?
Okay, so it's semantics, but there's also different. So psychotherapy is essentially really dealing with the past.
Okay.
To help you be better in the present and the future.
Okay.
Counselling, in essence, is usually shorter. So psychotherapy is long. It's usually meant to be long term.
Okay.
So it could be years and years and years.
Oh, okay.
Because if you think about you're unraveling years and years and years of different things, then counselling, in essence, is a shorter form. So it can still be long, but not necessarily as long as psychotherapy. And the training is slightly different. So counsellors do shorter training. So it could just be a matter of like a year or two, essentially. And then psychotherapy is like usually 4 to 7 years, depending on the different programs. Because the public doesn't really care, people use it interchangeably. But if you met psychotherapists and counsellors, they'll be like, no.
There's a difference.
There's a difference. The difference between psychology, psychotherapy, and counselling. So there are differences, but essentially you are speaking to a professional and they're facilitating a safe space and a process for you to reveal sensitive stuff and basically give you a mirror to look at and hopefully heal. And I think the most powerful thing about psychotherapy and counselling is that it gives you options. That's really what it is. Options to, because you still are confronted with the same triggers. Now the question is, what do you do with those triggers? Do you respond the same way? Or do you respond differently with the tools that you've now been given, that you've become aware of?
Yeah.
I ask a question then. Do you think there's like a like direct correlation between all the onus on like all this therapy stuff and people talking and stuff and our generation being softer now?
Ooh,
you heard that conversation?
Yeah, I heard the conversation. No, I don't think there's a direct correlation. I think the points that Manuel and Marks, you were making in regards to parenting. So I think and social media and society as a whole, not necessarily psychotherapy, because psychotherapy is still underused, particularly within our community anyways. So it's getting better, but it's still underused. So no, it's not a direct correlation, because it's only in really the Western world, and not in every country in Western world that psychotherapy is even available in schools. So it's still not an accessible thing. It's still quite expensive, depending on your socioeconomic background. So no, I don't think there is a direct correlation. There might be inferences, but there isn't. I don't think that you could put a causality in terms of the more people undertaking psychotherapy the society is becoming softer.
Okay. Are those two types of therapy there are? Because I think when people say, go to therapy, no one is ever really specific. And I guess they don't have that information to know what type of therapy they need. But is that the main two?
Oh, no. So psychotherapy is the umbrella term.
Okay.
And within psychotherapy and counselling, you have what we call theories.
Okay.
Like I don't know if anyone studies sociology, and you've got different theories. So there's different theories. So Freud is the father of psychotherapy, but he coined psychoanalysis. So there's a form of psychotherapy. Then you've got Rogers. He created person-centered. Then you've got Jungian. He created Jung. He created Jungian. A lot of them did offshoot from psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
You've got CBT. That was Beck, and I can't remember the other person's name. That's more cognitive and behavioural. You've got I couldn't even explain to you the amount of psychotherapies there are.
Yeah.
So there's so many, and it's just different worldviews, all trying to explain similar processes. So all trying to explain the phenomenon between a mother and a child, or father and a child, which we call attachment.
Yeah.
So, but in attachment theory, which is an offshoot to a degree of psychoanalysis, in another theory might call it a different name, but talking about the same process.
Yeah.
Because you kind of touched on all those founding fathers, right?
Which are all white.
Yeah.
Just to say.
Yeah. I like Carl Jung's work, right? And obviously, he separated from Freud at a certain point. But Freud's work on the mother attachment, the whole sexual thing, right? Do you agree with that?
That's why I didn't choose psychoanalysis.
Okay.
There's elements of truth. When I say truth, there's elements that you could say, the Oedipus and Electra.
Yeah.
So the idea that, at a certain age, the mother gets angry at the child gets angry at the mother because they love the father and they're a bit jealous of the relationship. And you do sometimes see that with kids. The kids want each parent. The whole sexual element, there's a lot of people that follow it. The thing about psychoanalysis, the good thing is that it's got a very robust theoretical framework. Yeah. There's lots of research in different things. A lot of the stuff that we now know has come from that. The whole trying to go back into the past and the unconscious. So there was a lot of stuff. Do I agree on that? No, it doesn't really fit with my worldview. I don't believe God created a man and woman and then the children. I just don't believe that. But it does not mean that there are not elements of truth. And depending on certain households, unfortunately, some funny things are actually occurring and happening. So you do see that behaviour in kids as well.
Wow. So what inspired your journey into this? Is this something you always known you wanted to go into?
No.
So like, what is it that inspired, and when did this journey start for you?
You know, I'm Nigerian, so I want to be a lawyer,
Yeah.
doctor, engineer,
I was going to get there,
Yeah. What inspired a lot of it, when you look back in hindsight, you realize that, you know, what they say, like small decisions and how they go into certain things. Like you don't sit there and go, oh my God. Some people do, but that wasn't my situation. Obviously, looking back at my mental health journey. But a lot of it was my curiosity. So when I did social work, I wanted to understand more about the mind. I did psychology at A-levels, but I ended up doing history because I love history. I'm a history geek. So I thought, let me do history, to my mum's dismay. Like, what are you doing with history?
She's doing engineering.
So, it kind of came because I was curious about the mind. I wanted to understand why we did the things that we did. And, you know, if there's causal effects, you know, associations, et cetera, et cetera. So that's it. And then obviously looking back, it makes sense because of my mental health journey as well. So
that's what inspired it. Yeah, because I'm always fascinated. Not fascinated. I don't know if fascinated is the wrong word, but I love when I meet people, because I'm Nigerian as well, and I know how the Nigerian culture is in the background and all that kind of stuff. So I always love it when I meet people who have done something that I know is outside of our cultural. What we know as a culture, I absolutely love it.
Everything history. Only black person in the whole history. I was doing ancient history.
Oh wow, okay.
So only black person did Latin. I was just the only black person. Same in psychotherapy. The only black person. Really. I think the only time I was probably around a lot of ethnics was social work, which makes sense to a degree in the city London. So, but all of my other, my doctoral course actually is quite a good mixed bag of us. But overall, even my business. I'm black CEO in a white space in psychotherapy. So
so recently we had these lovely ladies from 5 Times More, and they work with, you know, black maternal health and highlighting, you know, the issues in that area. And they were talking about how with like learning all these things, I guess the textbook is really just on white. It doesn't talk about black bodies, basically. Would you say the same with mental health?
Yeah, mental health it's such a complicated one. So I do always have to put a disclaimer out that I obviously I'm not a psychiatrist nor a clinical psychologist. I don't diagnose, but I am an approved mental health professional. So I'm the person that does section people.
Okay.
So I'm the one that makes that decision. I do have 2 doctors with me, but I'm the one that they give me recommendations and I make the decision, and I'm doing that today as well. So I'll be doing that later on. I've been in the mental health system for a very long time. And unfortunately, when you look at papers, so publications and even news articles of 20 years ago, it's scary because not much has changed.
Yeah.
It's not much has changed in terms of the amount of, particularly within the black composition, black Caribbean the highest, and followed by Africans, and then they say black other, which could be anything, right? And you have Asians there as well, and I guess different of the Asian groups are mentioned there. No, I don't know. I can't tell you what psychiatrists learn, but I can tell you that anecdotally and what research does, that racial bias does play a part unconsciously. Because I've been there where a young black boy is talking to him and we're assessing him under the Mental Health Act. And he is behaving aggressively, but maybe because I'm used to that, I just don't see it as that. And then they write an aggressive. And I had to sit there and think, objectively, was he aggressive? Or were they saying that because he's black? And sometimes it's really hard because he was shouting. But in my mind, if 3 people come into my environment tell me that I'm going to be sectioned, I will shout too.
Yeah, because,
You know, but then you as a black woman, sometimes I'm like, don't shout, just, you know, can't, because I understand how it's going to be perceived. So it's very frustrating. But no, in terms of your question directly about black bodies and stuff, like when I do some training, for example, like eating disorders, for example, they didn't have any Black people being mentioned. And I said then, they're like, it's true, we don't have that material. But a lot of it is to do with data and research. We need more of us in data and research. The reality is, if we are not in that, they don't have a vested interest because they're the majority. So they're going to research the majority in their country. So we need more of us to have a vested interest to say, I want to undertake research in our issues.
We've got some few questions in the comments. Do you find it hard not to use psychoanalysis when you're having day-to-day conversations with your friends?
Oh yeah, no, I don't. I think 90% I don't. There's sometimes my husband or somebody might say, "Are you?" But don't psychoanalyze me. But I think they're mistaken what they think psychoanalysis is. It's like if I said, how you doing? Or what do you mean by that? That's what I do in therapy, but that's just normal. That's also a normal everyday question. Okay. No, I don't. I think most people would say I don't do that. I'm good at separating. I learned that in social work. I don't bring things home.
Okay. Another one is your thoughts on Black men in relation to mental health and therapy. Like, what do you see in us?
Oh, when they say what do I see in us, as in we all need it. Yeah. Black men need it. I don't think Black men need it more than Black women. We just all need it. Yeah. I think the fact that in my service, which is amazing, obviously Black women are the majority, but women are the majority in going to therapy anyways, across all races. Yeah. Then it's followed by Black men. So I've got a lot of men them. I've assessed some roadmen, like literally they would be having their trap phone. Oh, yeah. Like, hold on. I'm chatting to my therapist. So, which I just find absolutely amazing, the fact that they would access therapy. So we are getting a lot of Black men and mixed heritage men in our service, which is amazing. So if the person's saying that, what do I see in Black men, bit like the conversation you were having previously in terms of culturally, both Caribbean, African, maybe even South American, there is that men in general are told not to show feelings. Yeah. Then culturally added to that, you've got a cultural aspect, and then even society does not see Black men as emotional or vulnerable. So when you've got so much around saying that, and then we've got to women do have to take a bit of responsibility because a lot of us come from single parent households. So what are the mothers teaching the kids? Yeah. So I think, like you said, Yusuf, a lot of Black men are doing better, but you see a lot of, when you see a lot of young people like, yo, man, look, after 10 years, when life knocks them, man, when life knocks them, they can't settle down, they can't, they're going to be like, I need help. So I think the more awareness, like people like Stormzy, all of these different people talk about it, the more Black men will be going to therapy. Yeah.
Okay. Have you had therapy, or do you do it yourself?
Yeah. So I have clients. I run the therapy practice.
No, I'm saying, have you been on the receiving? Have you got a therapist?
Yeah. I'm still in therapy. 8 years.
Is it mandatory? Because if you're someone who takes in a lot of people's, you speak to people a lot, I would think it should be mandatory that you have to go to therapy as well.
For most, unfortunately, not all. Really, therapy courses demand that. Clinical psychology doesn't demand that either, so some optional. So for psychotherapy, most psychotherapy programs expect you, at least for the 4 years of training, to be in therapy. Counselling is half. Okay. And then clinical psych is not compulsory. So that's why you will meet people that say they're therapists and you're thinking, bruh, man, I understand what is going on. Like you don't have any insight like what's going on. It's because they don't have to go therapy.
Have you ever had a session with someone and you've been upset? Is that allowed?
Oh, you mean you get touched by their story?
And then you're crying
in the actual session?
Is it allowed?
No, but it's true. They might be unprofessional.
No, obviously. No, you can feel it. Is it unprofessional to actually display it, you mean?
Yeah, okay, that's it. Yeah.
It's what we call self-disclosure. Depends on the situation. Some theoretical schools will say no. Some others will. I think it depends on the relationship with the client. For example, you could have a client and you could be like, oh my God, I'm touched. And they might think, why is my therapist empathizing with me? Like literally, you have a client being upset that their therapist, then another therapist,
you're doing too much.
And then another person will be like, oh my God, like my therapist touched. So it's about knowing your client. Yeah. Clients can take things, in different ways.
That's true.
Yeah. So it's not about not being allowed. It's about, is it in the service of the therapeutic relationship?
Okay,
You see, with the roadmen that you've seen, right? What is the common factor between all of them?
Okay, so before I answer that question, the reason why a lot of men come into therapy that I've noticed is usually women. So their sister, a relationship, it is usually that. And then they've got other things on top of that. So it's usually, I've been told, I need to go to therapy, I've got maybe communication issues. And then some of them are where, I've seen a lot of people die. And I say this because sometimes the guys that come in to the service now, I don't assess them, my team does. But the ones that I did assess just really blew me away. They will talk about the fact that they know that they're angry. Like, I've got anger. Like, I just don't want to be angry anymore. I'm angry at society. I'm angry at the world. I'm angry at my parents. I'm just angry. I need to deal with all of this. And then some of them would be like, look, I can't chat to this. I can't speak to this my man them. But I'm not happy. I might act all jolly, but life isn't good.
I see that a lot because I have friends who, they act tough and they poke out their chest and they give all this bravado. But when they speak to me, it's a completely different story.
They're usually the ones that...
Yeah, they tell me, I'm not happy, this is what's going on. Or don't be fooled by XYZ use, I'm not happy, it's just a front. And I see it a lot. And I think because I am looked upon as being, more open than others, people do come to me and they kind of like, let me know what they really feel.
Yeah, because you're not going to judge them. You're not going to say, like, bruv, come on.
Yeah.
You're not going to shut them down. But they know a lot of their friends will shut them down. They haven't got the emotional capacity.
Yeah.
It's actually sad.
Do you recommend to just go and get like a mental MOT check and just go and get therapy, like just because? Or do you think you should wait till like there's things that's displaying in you got issues, or like, do you get what I'm saying?
Well, I said this in another podcast. Like, if you were about to make an investment, you get a financial advisor. like if you were to buy a car, you go to a car. Like in nearly every other area of our life, we do research, we get an expert, we ask for consultation, coaching. But when it comes to your own mental state, no. You need to wait till it gets to that point. Is that I always say that if you're within the picture, you can't see the frame. It actually is a bit arrogant to feel that you can see yourself. That's why I'm really not a big fan of too much self-evaluation, because majority of us are not objective. So how can you evaluate yourself? You might evaluate yourself. You're evaluating yourself subjectively anyways. But if you're overly critical of yourself, you're going to potentially see through that lens. If you have a very highly inflated ego, you might see through that lens. You need somebody else, to a degree objective, to a degree not, to be able to say, like, this is your behavior. And literally, if anyone's been in therapy, if you've ever said things out loud that you're thinking in your head, as soon as you say it, you're thinking, crap, is that what I say to myself? Is that what I do? But when you're saying it to yourself constantly with no one there, then you continue to reinforce whatever it is. I'm just stupid, I'm just rubbish, I'm just whatever. Someone goes, but you got a first in your degree. And it sounds a bit stupid.
That is so true, because remember I was talking about like how I journal and stuff, and I'm very big on like doing like self-therapy. So like, journaling and talking to myself, all that kind of stuff. But I'm quite critical of myself. And when I talk to sometimes I talk to my therapist about something, same thing I've written down, obviously I've written down from my lens. And when she tells me, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't see it like that.
No, but you wouldn't see it like that.
Yeah.
I can't see it like that. You can't see yourself in that way. I think that's one of the biggest issues in society is lack of self-awareness, that you cannot self-therapy yourself without, I think, a process. Even if it's not therapy, even if it's just coaching, but you just need somebody else. Doesn't mean because they're an expert. They're not expert in your life. But they just are able to hold up what you're saying to a mirror, and you're able to go, right, is that how I'm thinking? Is that what I'm doing? Why am I repeating the same mistakes? Why am I keep going down the same pathway? That's not good for me.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, another question from the comments. What have you found contributes the most to trauma in Black youths and adults who you've worked with?
I think there's so many things, but if you're talking about in who I've worked with, with the people that I've worked with, I find this. I don't know if there's research, so it might be something I do postdoctoral research, but I'm very much interested in particularly Nigerians, but it could be, you could say, West African mothers, relationship between the daughter, it could even so be the son as well, but the daughter and the mother. I find a lot of our generation, I don't know if we're all the same age, but I'm in my 30s, a lot of our middle millennials and even a bit older don't actually have a great relationship with their mum. Their dad is neither here or there, and I don't mean it rude, I mean they're either not in the present or not. But usually the mother is, and there is a lot of, and this is not all, but there is a percentage of Nigerian mothers that are quite narcissistic, that I think people are beginning to realise that part of our culture that we celebrate can be very narcissistic. So that I think, and unfortunately, sexual abuse, that's trigger, I should have said trigger warning, isn't it? That is usually, I think, a paramount thing is that, so it's relationship with parents, sexual abuse and relationship issues that I find, which sometimes then triggers all of the other stuff. So you come for a relationship, like me and my partner's not going well, and then they begin to realise that, oh crap, I've got all of these other stuff. And then of course you've got racial issues as well on top of that. But I think the biggest thing would be, like that kind of more sexual kind of trauma, or sometimes physical abuse. The person becomes aware that discipline, what you guys were talking about, maybe was a bit too extreme. But yeah, there's something about, I don't know what's going on, but Nigerian mothers and their daughters, it could be same with Ghanaians.
I have some theories.
Yeah, lay them out.
I think, especially for me, from conversations I've had anyway, and you know, my other African friends, I think it's like a first daughter. There's a first daughter thing. I think that when you're a child, your parents obviously want to raise you to be an independent woman and to be a great member of society. But I think it then gets to the point where you're then able to kind of make decisions without them, and it's almost as if that they're resentful that you're able to go on with life without them. It's a bit of a weird one, because really, when you raise your children, you raise them so they can be, so if you're not there tomorrow, they can be there. But I guess when the parent's still alive and they're watching you then be like an independent person and doing what you're doing and flourishing wherever you're doing, it's almost like some form of envy. I have this theory where I do believe that there are parents who are envious of their children for many, many reasons. I think a lot of times, well, that's why I don't really buy into that conversation where, you know, the older generation compare our generation to theirs and they're like, oh, you people don't know, blah, blah. I think a lot of it, for me, as far as I'm concerned, conversations I've had with older people, I think comes from a place of envy. It comes from a place of, they had no choice but to like go through the struggles and whatever. And I think a part of them is envious that we don't have to do that. And I guess from their lens, the world is kind of laid out for us. But
that's interesting. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
I think also, I think you guys may have mentioned it. There is, to a degree, allowed verbal abuse.
Yeah.
And I'm bored on that because sometimes it's, you know, but it is. It may not be your parents are abusive, but sometimes the things that our parents say, like, shut up, you stupid person. It's like, hey.
But you know what, though? Even that, I think if we really sit down and really deep it, we might not want to call it abuse, but it is. Because some of it is very excessive. Because really think about it, like, someone makes a mistake and you're calling them all the names under the sun.
And disproportionate.
That is abusive.
Disproportionate response.
That's the thing, because I always say that, like, sometimes, and, you know, I always say that with certain situations, if you look at maybe the way your parents talk to you or treat you or whatever it is, if you had a partner that was treating you the exact same way, they would say to you, you need to pack your bag and leave. But because it's a parent, again, that cultural thing of respect, you don't disrespect and da-da-da-da-da, it's like it's allowed when it's them. But if someone else did it to you, they would have concern about that. Do you get what I mean? But I think with the culture, it's a lot of Sorry?
If it's just like one off and you're being abused and all that, then I hear that. But if your child's constantly doing stupid things, you should be allowed to ask, like, are you stupid or something? Are you sticking your head?
You should be allowed.
But do you know what mugs though? Yeah. Now it depends. Obviously, every kid is different. I was a very active. I got undiagnosed ADHD, but I did not do I wasn't doing madness. I didn't break plates. You know, you just do something silly, like you maybe drop a plate.
It's
and
a
then
child being a child, though.
Yeah, that's what children do. Children mess about. They do stuff. But the added thing is, and I don't know when everyone's parents came, but my mum came in the 90s. A lot of Nigerians, Ghanaians, all of them came in the 80s and 90s. There were some obviously came in the 60s, but a lot of us came at that time. It was really hard. And a lot of our parents probably were very like, dude, you know, mama had owns a shop and then she comes there cleaning. So you could imagine the frustrations and stuff. And also, my mum, we were here illegally for many years. I didn't know that until she told me, oh yeah, you got your passport in 2002. I was like, is it? I became a citizen in 2002. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking I'm British and that. So, what do you call it? She was under a lot. And then obviously my father wasn't there. He was violent and then he left us. So it's not to excuse, and my mum was amazing, but just not to excuse certain behaviours that she did or didn't do, but it's to under context that a lot of our parents were under circumstances like we thank God we were not under. So therefore, they did not have the emotional capacity to say, the stress at work, I shouldn't take out on the kids just because they haven't washed up the plates.
And that's very true. I think I always say to people, because like I mentioned earlier, I'm not really for people like fully criticizing the older generation. I think they can only do what it is that they can do. As much as I think I've got better emotional intelligence than, you know, people that birthed me. But at the same time, that wasn't shade. Lord, I love my mama. No. I just meant like I'd say don't make a scene, guys. But like as much as I've got emotional intelligence or whatever, as much as I'm going to be so careful and I'm going to be attentive to my kids and whatever, my kids are also going to recognize things in me that I didn't do, and then they're going to want to do better with their children. Do you get what I mean? But I think when it just comes to, it's a bit tricky. I feel like culture is really, really holding us back. But one thing I also learned as well, because sometimes I speak to my mum, and again, this is why I say the older generation, they glorify struggle. First of all, if you don't struggle, it's not worth having. But soft life, thank you very much. But with them as well, when I listen to their stories, so for example, like my mum, I like to talk to her now about like her life, and she came in, she was 15 years old, right?
Wow.
When I speak to her, I'm looking at her like, girl, that's a lot. But because she's had that mindset of just get on with it, she doesn't realize. You get me? And I think a lot of like older people, and from my friends I've spoken to, and older, even aunties and uncles I've spoken to, a lot of them they project, or they have traits in them they haven't been able. They're not self-aware enough to know that okay, this I do this. Is just going back to the whole bringing stress from work and blah blah blah. They're not self-aware enough to realize that this is indirectly or subconsciously, this is what I'm pushing on this. And I think I always say to people that what helps here with like looking at your parents is understanding that they're actually human beings. There's really I don't care how many books are out there about parenting. There's no perfect book. Exactly. They're human beings that are having to figure out life the way we're having to figure out life. Yep. And unfortunately, you just have to obviously try as situations are different, if it's abuse, get out, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you can't really internalize every single thing and take it so deeply personal because how is someone, if you don't know better, how are you going to do better? Yeah. And the people that are pushing these things on you, they don't know better. They're not aware that they have this issue that needs to be dealt with. It's a very interesting one with parents.
Last, I'll just say, I think there's a difference between in the intentionality and not. So for example, like my mum, sounds like your mum, maybe some of our parents, they did things, but they didn't want to hurt us. But there are some parents that are actually they're intentionally hurt, and I don't even mean physical abuse, just they will insult your life and tell you about yourself.
Some people hate their
who
kids.
Is you?
Yeah.
So and I think there's a lot more than we actually give credit for, because it's difficult when you're in mental health and therapy and in the world, same as like when you're in like the DI, the diversity equity space, you kind of see always the problems, and when you have to go actually, there's actually quite a lot of good outside. So I can't say that there is so much, but there is a percentage of our parents, and obviously we're all black, so of black parenting, that because you see a lot of us black people saying that Mother's Day and Father's Day, but some people just do not have obligation. They just don't have obligations. Like, look, I've only got one mother, I've only got one father, I've got to do that. But if they had a choice, they'd be like, nah, not this parent. I don't want this parent. So it is to be aware of that. Some people you see all mother-y, father-y on different days are just doing it because they don't want to feel like they're not doing it, and they know they don't do it.
It's that guilt of they might not be around tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you believe? Because I believe that a lot of traits that we have tend to come from somewhere. Is that true? Would you say?
Well, actually, I did a course, and supposedly I didn't get to research, so don't quote me on this. But it does. There was a quote that said that 50% nature, 50% nurture.
Okay.
So take it as you will in terms of if you feel like, no, it's more nurture, more nature. But we do inherit traits what they would call epigenetics or generational trauma. Yeah. And then we do learn behaviour from what we see.
Yeah. Do you speak to your parents about like mental health, about their mental health?
Yeah, she's actually within the same field as myself. So,
nice. Okay, that's good.
I'm able to speak to her.
Yeah.
But I'm okay. Like, I do speak to her about, how I'm feeling stuff. But with me, because I'm the only child. So
you okay?
I'm a child, yeah. Which is, I know it's rare for like Igbo families and stuff, but I'm the only child. So it was a bit like, my mum now is like a bit like my baby. Like, I feel like if I tell her too much, she starts worrying. She's doing prayer warrior at 12 midnight. And I'll be hearing her and I'll be like, I don't want her to worry too much. So there is also a part of that the more I share with her, the more I think she will get too worried. And with all her health issues, I'm like, Mum, I don't want you to be getting heart attacks and stuff like that. But yeah, I do share with my mum. And my mum's confidant. I'm like, Mum, can't you just chat to your friend? Stop telling me your business. Like, I don't know everything that's happening. But yeah, she tells me everything. Which is good compared to how we were like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Do you... Sorry.
Do you just mentioned that your mother would go prayer warrior. How does Christianity or religion kind of bleed into your work?
Very big, because most, not all, but some of my clients are all Christian. So I work as a faith-based Christian as well. To that, yeah. Do you know what? It's, to me, because I'm in the world, I don't see a separation. I just think it's not like I believe we're a tripart being, we're spirit, soul, and body. So. The same way you go to a doctor for physical health, you go to a therapist or something, or coach for your psychology, your soul, you have a spiritual being. So that's where the faith comes in. That's where your relationship with God comes in. So I don't see it as that separation, but I understand historically, society-wise, why people might find it difficult, because the question that usually follows that is that whole prayer versus therapy. But I think people misunderstand what prayer is first. So when they say prayer, they just think you're just saying, God, help me not be sad anymore. And that's not really what prayer is. So I think they go hand in hand. Because I suffered from depression for most of my life. And when people ask me how did I I guess, overcome. And I can't say one or the other. I can't say it was just therapy. I can't say it's just prayer. I would say both. It was a combination of truly understanding that I'm loved, because not having a father and realizing that, you know, he left me purposely. It wasn't my mum took me away from me, all of that stuff. So having to go through that and realize that I'm loved by the Father. So my spiritual father, and then undoing the trauma that I've experienced in life and actually speaking to a therapist about that. So they go hand in hand. So I think, yes, to add to that as well, because I know the other element of the whole religion thing is the whole over-spiritualizing something that actually could just be a psychological component. But...
So sorry.
Go on, Marks.
No, I was going to say, have you ever... Oh, shit.
Worst timing.
Proper horrible timing.
Why is it so
I was going to say that. Have you ever looked at anybody and thought to yourself, like, you don't need therapy, you need God.
You need Jesus.
Yeah, 100%. I think you need both. So if I'm seeing people, talking to people, and I'm like, you know, a lot of people come because their faith is shaky as well, so they kind of want that component as well. So for me, I love it when I'm able to work fully as myself, and we can pray, we can look at scriptures, we can go through therapy. I just think it's a beautiful combination. But yeah, of course, definitely, I think that, you know, as we know, love is the answer, and then who is love? Love is God. So if we understand that we're loved by Heavenly Father and He did all that He can to save us on the cross, I just think that awareness of when you think, because a lot of people think they're unworthy. When things are done unto you, you made to feel unworthy, even though some things were not your fault. That unworthiness, whether it's where I've come from, it comes from your higher self, which is your spirit, which has to connect with God. So when you have that, and you can feel worthy again, but that happens in your spirit, your soul needs to understand what's happened. So that's where the therapy comes in. The therapy is now to say, it's a bit like science. Science explains the how. H2O is water, but I know I just drink the water. I don't know how it's made, I just know I drink it. That's what therapy does. It explains so in me understanding, me coming to Christ, this is what's going on. I'm now becoming worthy. How do I show worthiness? How do I stop repeating negative things? How do I stop saying negative thoughts to myself? That's where the therapy comes in.
And on the other end of the spectrum of what Mark said, do you ever get people and you think you don't need therapy or you don't need to be here? Or do you just take whatever? If someone deems they need therapy, then you just take it like that?
I'm not that therapist. Yeah, sometimes it's like, if you're not willing to change, So I do couples work. Okay. So I had a couples client, and the guy was actually a black guy, and he didn't want to show himself on the camera.
He didn't want to show himself.
Didn't want to show himself on the camera. I said, I'm not going to work. But because I could see how desperate she was, I said, okay, I'm going to have this assessment session with you. But I said at the end, I'm not working with both of you.
But then was one of his issues though that he didn't want to show himself on the camera because he didn't want to do this? Or?
Yeah, he didn't really think he needed it.
Okay.
But not only did he think he needed it, he said, I'm doing it for her, but I don't need to show you who I am. I don't need to show. It's like, I don't know, he was hiding himself. Yeah, I don't need to show you. And I said, look, I could potentially do this for you if it's me and you. This is a couple. I need to see who she's in a couple with, because she's shouting. You guys are because they were literally shouting at each other, and I'm like, I don't even know who she's talking to. I said no. So and for me, see, the thing is, I'm a girl from ends, so no, I don't chat to people like that in my therapy room. But sometimes if you come at me, I'm gonna. So if you're disrespectful, I'm not gonna go, oh my God. And it depends. Most of the time I am, but it's been not really in therapy, but in my social work role. Yeah, I've chatted to some man and like, don't ever raise your voice at me, because I'm not your age mate like that. So I'm not like my colleagues that will be like, oh no. I say, get out. If you're being rude, get out, because mental health issues doesn't make you rude. Do you understand what I'm saying? So likely if you're experiencing trauma, because I've experienced trauma, we've all got some trauma related stuff. If you're coming to me in a session and you're being disrespectful, you need to leave. Yeah. But again, majority of the time, it's a bit like, what is going on? So I'm like, I might say, look, I'm sensing some sort of hostility. What's happening here?
Yeah.
You know, I haven't fortunately had someone overly be that direct where I've got to come at it like, look, I'm a hackney girl, don't come with me with that. I haven't had to do that in psychotherapy, but definitely within social work, I've told a few people about themselves,
What's the oldest and youngest patient you've had?
In terms of therapy or social work or?
Therapy.
Youngest, I don't really work with much children, but 16. Okay. I did assess a 13-year-old, but I passed it on to a colleague because we don't do that within our service. We're 16 plus. But you mentioned about kids having therapy, and I was saying that, you know, like play therapy. They don't need to talk. They could do play therapy and stuff like that. I think definitely, because some children do find it hard to express themselves. But yeah, that's the youngest that I work with would be 16. And I've done an assessment on a 13-year-old before, but unfortunately, I've sectioned a 13-year-old.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't sectioned it under that, but I know colleagues that have sectioned 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not nice. It's not nice to do that at all.
Oh my goodness.
See,
And then, sorry, the oldest?
Oh, the oldest. The oldest I've assessed, because I don't have like in their 50s clients, but the oldest I've assessed is like in their 60s.
Okay.
A black woman, yeah.
Do a lot of older people come to therapy?
Yeah, they're a small minority, but you do. And a lot of them come because their kids have told them to come through, which is amazing as well. I love to see black men, our parents, break the quote unquote stereotype.
Yeah.
Because I know that majority of our parents ain't going to go therapy. I know there's still a lot coming, but majority of black men ain't going to therapy. So when you see that, it is absolutely amazing, you know. And the more of them that do it, the more that they spread it around, and the more their age mates begin to come. But yeah, you do get those. I guess it's hard because obviously when they come, you know, there are older women out there as well, but, you know, a 60-year-old probably would want to speak to someone in their 50s and 60s, not somebody in their 30s.
But like, you know,
Usually when you section someone, is that like the last resort kind of thing? Is there anyone that gets sectioned and then like make their way back into society and they're totally normal, or is once someone gets sectioned, it's just kind of like a slippery slope and they're kind of just screwed forever, basically?
Without overcomplicating matters, section, when you are detained under the Mental Health Act, which we otherwise call it section because it's section 2 and section 3, those are the two main sections that we're talking about, unless you're in going through the prison system. It's at the point of crisis. So let's just say that it's at the point of crisis that you usually section somebody. The risk that they're presenting as a result of their mental health disorder is such that they need to be deprived of their liberty and receive treatment. So that could be a one-time episode. So you what you do get is that you get a lot of black brothers in there because of drug-induced psychosis. But what tends to happen, unfortunately, because they lack awareness, what we call lack insight, they refuse to believe that something went wrong. What happens? They go in the system, meaning that when they come out, they don't take the medication. They're not usually even offered therapy, but if they are offered, they say no. Sometimes family collude with them, and the family go, "Oh, it's us that's crazy, not them." 10 years later, they're still in the system. So for
the most part, if you get sectioned, then you're just literally going to be in the system for the most part.
Not necessarily. It just depends. But it depends on what type of community you're talking about. I could say that I had a lot of black people that did go through that. But then a lot of that was to do, like I said, lack of insight, just a lot of cultural stuff, a lot of things, just them not accepting. Because it's hard to accept. Someone tells you you've got psychosis, all you hear is, "I'm a madman. I'm mad." And when you're in it, you don't feel like you're out of reality. And I'm sure we all know some mandem on road and some people that you're thinking, hey, you've got issues. That person there, like looking like this, has issues. But maybe the people that you're with just think, oh, that's the person that's just seen. It's a bit paranoid. That's just how they are. And then when it gets really bad, they go off. People think either he's gone to pen, he's gone somewhere, and he comes back, and it just ends up being in and out. But no, a lot of people, they get sectioned and that's it. They go back into society with just a one crisis moment thing, and whether they take medication or not, whether they need it or not, they go out and they seek the help and they go on. So no, not people get stuck, but there's a section of the population that do, unfortunately.
But how does one get out? So say someone's in that cycle for like 10 years, taking medication, go out, come back, but it's a like 10-year stretch type thing. How does that person eventually come out and become, for lack of a better word, normal again?
You would probably say functional.
Functional.
Yeah. This is the weirdest thing is they have to engage, and what by engage means attend your meetings, take your medication, and there's other things, but those are the two main things. When what happens is that they're not taking the medication, then they relapse and then they go back into hospital, and they're not engaging with the meetings. They're avoiding the meetings with what we call a care coordinator. That could be a social worker, nurse, what have you. So that's usually how to get out of the system. So how the system lets you go. The system lets you go because we're inundated with people. So we're only trying to take the people that seriously need us. I'm talking about secondary service, not your GP. GP is primary care. We're talking about secondary services, right? And then there's tertiary services, which is the forensic service. That when you get in there, then that's when you get locked up, mugs. You won't see that person for like 25 years potentially. Wow. But in secondary services, essentially, you have to comply. The more non-compliant you are, the more likely you stay.
I don't know anyone that's been sectioned and came back like totally normal. It's like what you're saying. Maybe they allow you to come out because you're functional and that. But it's like obviously it's like with alcoholism, like you could drop off the wagon at any time. Like you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's fragile, and like my auntie, she probably would have been mad from Quay, and they let her out, and she's been cool and all that. But you could tell there's trouble in there.
So we say it's not the sectioning; it's when somebody goes through a mental health breakdown and it gets to the point where it's gone to crisis. I don't know if there must be research, but I think anecdotally, it's hard to get back to what you was beforehand. That is the reason why it's so important for preventative, and to when people say genuinely check on your people, like it's not always just depression, anxiety. There are people that might be going through psychosis. If you see that at any point, you need to say, look, go to a GP, get help, because when you do go through psychotic breaks, there is a very large percentage of people that never fully they get better, but they never fully recover, because it's also very traumatic for them. If people knew what sometimes they do, like go around naked, screaming, shouting, like doing things, cutting off their hair. I don't even want to say, you could imagine the things that if you've got family you've seen, imagine being told that's what you're doing. And you're like, but
no, I didn't.
I didn't do that. I couldn't have done that. So that in itself to me is traumatic. Then getting sectioned is a traumatic experience. Sometimes I'm coming with 50, that's a bit of exaggeration. That was one time though. But maybe like 10 policemen and we bang through your door.
Crap.
We've got a warrant, so I get the warrant.
That's so scary.
And then basically with that, we come through your door. If you tell us to leave, then we're taking you with us. So imagine that. So I've come into people's houses and they're literally sleeping.
Oh.
There was one lady, this one broke my heart. She was cooking jollof rice.
Okay, stop it. Did you let her take her back to go? Or you had to leave it there?
No, we should tell her sons because that would spoil. So she had to call her children to think.
What did you say? Did you try to pack some rice?
No, she asked if she could tell her to pack the rice. No.
Back to go.
She was offering us.
If you think... Sorry, no. Since you guys want to do this.
Brent, I heard it, but I just thought, I'll let it go.
If you think I'm making jollof rice...
No, that's a real point.
And you're here to take me... So obviously I'm cooking because I'm hungry. So you're taking me my hunger to go and have a ham sandwich. You are high.
I told her that to tell her sons to bring the food. Yeah, you can't.
What are you talking about?
You can't cook the food. It's got to come through.
I'm not saying she don't have to eat no more. I'm just saying
I want my jollof rice.
Hospital food is dead.
No,
exactly.
I hear that, man. But is it the right time?
You're taking me to go and eat a ham sandwich.
Man said.
In all honesty, that was
back to go.
In all honesty, that point that you made was so central to her thing. She just kept saying, "My rice, my rice. Do you want rice? Do you want rice?" And it broke my heart because I'm like, what breaks my heart is because all of these people can be my brother, they can be my sister, they can be my mother.
Yeah.
If I was outside of the situation, I'd be calling her auntie.
That must be difficult, man.
Sad, man.
That's so sad.
How do you feel like the legacy of like slavery and colonialism affects Black people in terms of our psychoanalysis and stuff? Do you feel like that's the root? Do you feel like can it be? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's hard. Is it the root? I think it really does contribute. I think it's difficult to separate. I'm studying, for anyone that wants to know if they're interested, critical realism is a really interesting what we call ontology and epistemology. So that's basically research paradigm, that worldview as well. And the critical realist accepts as a reality, but understands that there's interpretation. So there's a subjective element. So this is water. But how I perceive the water might be different to how you perceive your water. And critical realists will acknowledge the fact that we would perceive this water very differently, but we'll acknowledge that there is a water. Where social constructionism will be like, is the water there? Does the water exist?
Oh, yeah.
And we use that a lot to explain a lot of things. That's what we say is race. Race is a social construction. So the reason why I mention that is because I think it will be difficult to separate a historical event that is still has side effects. It still has symptoms. It's still running deep.
It's still there.
Right? It's different if something just happened and then but it's still running deep systematically, just different things, right? So it's hard to separate if that is just the reason. However, like everything that we've said just prior to that, just the way our parents was, both in the Caribbean, in Africa, and also in Asia, there are cultural and regional things that also impact us as well. So yes, there are some people that, depending on where you live as well, right? So for example, my biggest thing growing up wasn't racism, it was colorism. Right, which is an offshoot, but it was colorism. So, I haven't, fortunately, though I lived in like North London and there was Essex Road, so there was a lot of sweetmates and they were very racist. I was not sheltered, but fortunately, when back in the 2000s, you weren't going too far anyway from your house anyway. So I was fortunate. But maybe some people, if you lived in certain areas like Eltham back in the day, or Dagenham, back in the day, you didn't go Dagenham back in the day. One time I went there, I was scared. If you're living in certain places that are hotbeds of racism, And obviously we all experience it in different ways. That could be what you come to therapy for, because maybe that. Then you've got a lot of black people that grow up in white areas. Then so the whole typical thing. Yeah. I'm too black for my white friends. I'm too white for my black friends. Those type of things. Yeah. So yes, racism and colonialism has and will continuously impact us. It just depends. It's relative to each person. Okay. It's relative to each family. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Do you? So if someone has to get sectioned and the kids are there, do you go in with the same vim?
Well, with the police coming through, the police will still come through regardless.
Oh,
But the other responsibility, because I work with children too as a social worker, but the other responsibility is be making sure, if we know that there are parents, if this is not like an emergency situation, it's usually planned. So let me add that most, not all, but mental health assessments are planned. It's coordinated with the police, with the ambulance. You know, somebody in the family might know. You know, the only time we don't tell them is because they might not be available. They might decide to duck out. You know, the police are coming at 8 a.m. You're gonna go, right? So we might tell like the mother. Somebody in the family usually knows it's happening. So if there are kids, then children's services then get involved. Because if there's no other member of family that can take the children. But we don't go in, so to say that we do not go in thinking we're going to section. Section, like you said, Marks, is the last thing. So the idea is there any other resource to support you? But unfortunately, because of the way the system is, if we're coming to section you, it's end up always likely because we've gotten to this point because all of the other resources haven't worked. Yeah.
So then if there are kids there, so the social services come first. I'm just thinking of the kids who would see that and what help is offered to them.
We try to make sure they don't see that. Sometimes it's unachievable. Maybe the father or the partner in the household wants the kids to be there or doesn't want to go because he needs to support his woman, but can't take them to kids. It all depends. So depends on circumstances. But usually you do try because it's not a nice experience. Because it's not nice, not because you're sitting there. You might just come and just see people talking to your mum. Yes. But if the parent is screaming and shouting, that is very traumatic. And we've had to drag people out. And the police, in all honesty, they don't like dragging a lot of people out. Like, they won't drag an old person out and we'll be there for hours and the old person is shouting, screaming. These old people, they're strong, you know, mate. You'll be running away from them because they're like throwing things at you. Oh, wow. To the point where like, we need to get somebody. Can we get an ambulance? Is there anybody, the daughter, mother? Who can somebody help us facilitate that? Yeah. But after a while, if it's like 3 hours and the person's unwilling, we're going to have to take you because we need to take you to hospital so you can get treatment. So on most of the time, it's okay, but there are some really hellish experience and it's just traumatic for everybody that's there. But you do try to mitigate and manage that. But unfortunately, when you come, it's like here, depending on how my personality was, this could be a dead interview, it could be a good interview, it could be a lively interview. It depends on the interaction of each of the members. So depends on what you see in that moment.
With social work, do you work with just adults? Or you said from age 16, isn't it?
Oh, no, that was therapy.
Oh, therapy.
So me, in my current role that I do, I work across the board. I'm an emergency duty social worker. So I work once a day team leave.
Okay. So with children, they're like, say they have to be taken away from their parents and stuff for different reasons, their parents' section and stuff. Is that counselling offered to kids or no?
Should be. The system's defunct. I don't mind saying that, you know.
Because that's a lot.
System's defunct.
See, most people that have like mental health issues or the psychosis or them thing, or not even like the serious ones, but any like display any kind of more mental health stuff, do you find that it's like been like hereditary, like, or people in their family have had it before, or is it the stuff that people just develop?
There's usually like somebody in the family has it if they know of it, but usually it's like, it could even be an uncle, but usually there is some sort of most of the cases that I've worked with, there is very few that isn't, and then the ones that also isn't, they don't know. They maybe just they're orphans, they're only child, or they're really. What you do find when people are entrenched is there's a breakdown in the family relationship. So families are not as involved. You find that families are involved in the beginning, then after 10, 15 years being in the system, nobody's coming to your meetings. You haven't got anyone in your meetings. There's no, if they've had children beforehand, then maybe, because when it's really severe and enduring, it impacts the relationship, and a lot of people with mental health issues, not all, but a lot, have what we call comorbidity. So they could be homeless, they could be taking drugs and alcohol. So it's not just the mental health difficulties they're experiencing, it's all other issues that add top to that. And then obviously they're not working, so they're on benefits. It's hard to live on benefits depending on the area that you live. So just so many factors then contribute to then their behaviour and what they display. So it makes it difficult for family. But a lot of people that I've worked with have some sort of family member. The same way with a lot of people that I work with that's got trauma, something's happened to their mum or their father. It's just that maybe no one talks about those. Everything's secret. But your mum got abused or your dad got deported, and
Yeah. So you can get trauma from stuff that hasn't directly happened to you, happened to other people.
That's what they call epigenetics. That's what they say generational trauma is. They did research on the Holocaust victims. So Holocaust, and then like the grandchildren of that never experienced the Holocaust, but certain things will trigger them. But like you didn't have Germans running through your yard. Why are you jumping? So, and some of us could experience that. We could say that maybe some people have said that they react a certain way, but nothing happened to them, and then they find that their grandparent got raped by something, trigger warning. So, yes, there's a lot of research. That's a new thing. There's skeptics and that. Is that really true? Can that be passed down? But I think there's the element of truth about, whether it's learned behavior, whether it's passed down through the genes. Yes.
That's what I wanted to ask. Is it like stuff that's just through the genes, or is it because the kid was raised around all that crazy behavior and they've seen it displayed and then they're copying it or learned it and this is what they know and stuff like that?
Bit of both. I would have to be a good person to have a geneticist that could be able to tell you like that. And they might be more lenient to say it's more biological. But as I said, they say that you are informed by nature and nurture, which is about 50-50.
Is it so? I know you mentioned, that it can be from like stuff you've witnessed, family line. Can it be from like a stranger? So something that you've witnessed, that you've seen someone else go through or something, as in trauma?
Or vicarious, they call it vicarious trauma.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a vicarious trauma. So it's like, like the mass shooting.
Oh, yeah.
There were some children that maybe didn't attend that day, right? Fortunately, they didn't attend, but then they go back to school maybe the following week. So they weren't there. They are just vicariously living that, because that was their school, that was their friends. Some of their friends might have passed. So they weren't there. They didn't have to jump on the floor when the bullets were flying and all the shells were going. Yeah. But they experienced it vicariously, though they wasn't directly impacted. It was an indirect impact.
Yeah. Can you, sorry.
Sorry, Esther. So with certain clients, you mentioned that you've sat down with certain roadmen, right? I'm not sure how much is it about Mags's life history, being from Hackney and that, right? Just imagine what Mags could have gone through.
Mags looking like, where's this going? He's squinting his eyes like, let me see. Sorry, I'm squinting with you, Mags.
So do you have tools to deal with combative clients who feel that they know more than you in order to kind of evade you actually addressing certain traumas that are deeply rooted?
Well, but just to link the question, because I haven't found that the roadmen, and I'm putting it in because it depends on the different levels of roadmen, isn't it? But the guys that I've said that were roadmen, they weren't rude. They're actually very lovely and respectful. So I haven't actually had any issues with them. But I think it's more personality types, right? Irrespective. First, this is a bit, I do diverge. I have a friend who went to prison quite a few times, but he just went for like other stuff, not like violence. But I asked him bare questions, and he said, look, he was like, Ngozi, there's some people in this prison that, bruh, because I was asking him about personality disorder. I was saying like, are there some people that they just want to hurt people? And he was like, yeah. They are. A lot of people actually regret what they did. But so the reason why I'm saying that is because that's a personality, regardless of their roadmen or whatever. You find narcissistic traits, not narcissistic people, but narcissistic traits. And there are people that you meet, male, female, whatever, that will come and they're there. They're actually there to even prove. Sometimes I've had people say, I'm just here to see if you can even work your magic.
Work your magic.
And it depends on the rapport, and it depends on how the person is. Like, if you meet because reality, some people are horrible. Look, I'll be very honest and first to say, just because you're a client doesn't mean you're nice. You can be really horrible. You can, because these are individuals, so they can be really nasty. It depends on how how a therapist might connect with them. You might really empathize and maybe feel like you see the child in them. Yeah. Because some people you just can't see through it. You're like, you know what? You need to find another therapist that can connect with you. But in all honesty, like I said before, it's about being firm. So when someone comes into a session, I set the scene. Yeah. This is an assessment. This is my name. This is how long it is. This is what we're going to do. And you might say, it's all about respect. So if they are disrespectful, they are breaking the verbal agreement that is made. And then by that version, I can just say, you know what, I think it's best that we end this consultation.
Let me reposition the question, because I didn't mean that.
Brent just trying to say that I need therapy. That's what he's trying to say.
That's what he's trying to say.
No, I'm just using him as an example, just because he's here, innit? So he's one of the smoothest operators ever. So when he comes into your space, you would never get disrespect from him. But he would be like tuned in. He would be trying to gauge whether you can actually help him, whether you can actually identify why he needs to be there.
I would say it's a defense. So I'm not saying you mugs, but I'm saying it's
But Brent is.
but I would say it's a defense because I said the first thing is the height of arrogance to feel that you don't need help. So once you admit you need help, it may not be from me. I'm not saying that I could help you or someone else could help you. But if
obviously,
go on.
I've been through trauma and stuff, but if it's not displaying in any way, why do I need help? Like he's saying, like he thinks like I need to have a conversation about stuff that I've been through, but it's like if it's not displaying in any way, if it's not affecting me mentally, regardless of whether it being hard or whatever it may be, if I'm all right, why do I need to talk to anybody for?
So that's a good point. So the first thing I would say, if you are genuinely saying, do you want me to direct it to you or just say generally? Are you happy with me to say you? Okay, cool. Mugs, if you are genuinely saying that you can say, and then you could ask at least 3 or 4 people and they will say that your trauma is not visible to them, the symptoms of it, the effects of it, then cool. It's highly unlikely. But if that is the case, it will eventually come out. So it may not be now. Give it 10 years, give it 20 years. The reality is, you got to see trauma like this. So you can, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'm pouring that water. It will overflow. Eventually, it will get to the rim and it will come out because life ain't getting any easier for a lot of us. We're always going through things. There's God forbid, people die. All of this different stuff. Get to a certain age, there's gonna come a point. And but not Jesus. So majority of us couldn't go on the cross. So if we're not that, there's gonna come a point where this is gonna overflow and it's gonna come out. Now, how it comes out is different. Some people's trauma doesn't come out in the, I don't know, abusing others or the typical anger. Yeah, but it might come out internally. And I get a sense that's basically what you're saying, that you're more internal. So I don't know what you're saying to yourself when we're not there. You might be insulting. Maybe maybe you're smiling, you're happy. Maybe you genuinely are because it's so normal to you. It's normal to you to go through the day insulting yourself. Let me give you an example. I was depressed. I did not know I was depressed because I just thought it was normal. I genuinely thought. And the reason why I thought it was normal because I was happy. People were shocked that I was depressed because those that knew it, I weren't close to. Those that I was close to did not know it. And does that make sense? So when I meet people, they'll be like, something is off with your eyes. But I'm like, okay, something's off with my eyes. But my friends, I'm the life of the party and all of this stuff. So I was that typical person where even my personality now is the same as I was depressed. It's just that I've got a greater consciousness and more awareness. My personality was the same. I was still high achiever. I was still doing things. I was still achieving things. So technically you could say, and I didn't treat people badly. So my life, my trauma was not being shown to others. It was, a lot of it was internal. No one knew. When I would go to bed, I was always crying. I didn't want to be here. So I'm not saying that's your case, Margs, but I'm just saying that I find it highly unlikely that it's not being shown somehow. And if it isn't, if that is the case, it will come. I just believe it will come. You can't go through what you've gone through, Margs, and it not come. And because life, unless you stop right now, God forbid, you're going to continue life. Life is still going to come with some shit on your face. It's going to pile on. It's going to pile on. So it will eventually pour out.
Yeah, but it's just pain, innit? It's just pain. A lot of the stuff that man's been through is all loss and bereavement and stuff like that. And understanding death and understanding pain and understanding your feelings, then it's like, I'm not asking questions like why and how and I'm not longing for nothing. Like things happen, you understand them, you deal with them. Like there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you could do with the pain, if that makes sense, or the hurt, however you feel about losing someone or something like that. You just have to just deal with it. So maybe with the water overflowing thing, like if it's so much, then eventually it's gonna give and it's gonna display in certain ways. But in that, like normally, like what kind of conversation do you have to have? Do you have to understand people are gone, they're not coming back? You know, like what do you want to do? What do you want to talk about?
This is a typical statement I have with a lot of my clients. They diminish the impact of pain. They acknowledge
it's not diminishing the impact of it because I felt it my whole life. I've felt it before and it's displayed in different ways or whatever. But it's like understanding it, learning it and understanding it over a long period of time. It's like you understand what it is like. Nothing. It's not going to be nice. Like it hurts. You just have to kind of find a way to deal with it. But I'm not going to it's not going to display in ways where it's going to make me act out of character and do different things because these things are definitive. Like they're done. You know what I'm trying to say? Like life's for the living. You have to keep going. Like I understand these things. So I don't know what the conversation. It's like, what do you want to draw out of me? Like, what do you want to do? To be extra sad or something? I don't understand. What's the point of it?
So I don't know if we could continue going.
No, please do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the reason why I say interesting, Marks, because I have these conversations with people in like I've had this conversation with a lot of my clients. A lot of my clients come in going, well, what's the point of talking about this? What's the point? And also like with men, and then a year or 2 years later, they're like, the thing actually helped, you know. The thing is, I can't convince you if you believe that there is no point, there is no convincing. Life is going to convince you. I don't need to convince you. That's why I said, like, if you feel okay right now and you are functioning and you are able to articulate your emotions, if you need to, if you feel that there is need to, then fine. But what I would say to what you're saying is that what you've done is you've intellectualized your experience. So there's a disconnection to what I say, your mind and your heart, which if that works for you, I don't know if you're coming from a very stoic, because I think you were talking about that. I didn't know when you guys were talking about discipline, if you were coming from a very stoic, because stoic is usually that kind of life, you know, shit happens. Yeah, just get on with it, right? Yeah. And I think it's a very stoic thing. But I would say that, and I can't, you know, definitely say, but from the research I've done, stoicism doesn't diminish the impact of emotions. It just says there's a way that you can manage it. But it also, I may be wrong, I don't know if he can go on, but can you hear me, Mark? It doesn't necessarily, I don't think it is opposed to therapy. So if you are stoic, it does not oppose you going into a process to facilitate your emotions, because a good stoic actually acknowledges their areas of weakness and then does things to uphold it. So if you've gone through a lot of stuff, that is a developmental area, because it meant that if you have gone through a lot of trauma, it means that whatever should have been not traumas was missed. It doesn't make sense. What should have been there is not there. So that means you've got something that's potentially lacking, but maybe it's not a major thing yet that you've seen it. Maybe the way your trajectory of your life has gone, that fortunately it hasn't been displayed. But let's say you had to you don't know the age you are now, but let's say you had to go to another country in Afghanistan. I'm telling you, in about a year's time, that trauma's coming out. Do you see what I mean? So maybe you're not under circumstances that you're under. I'm not saying they're easy, but I'm saying circumstances you're under have not put that pressure where you're seeing that trauma. So to answer your question is, I can't convince you, Mugs. At the end of the day, life will convince you. That's how I see it. That's how I see it.
I feel like I can compartmentalize stuff, and obviously whatever I've built up in myself to be able to live my life and cut through how I'm cutting through and be who I am. I feel like it works for me. Obviously, I can't diagnose anything here, but I feel like I'm all right. And what it feels like, especially with Brent, it's like he wants to tear all of that down and break it down. It's like, for why? If I'm fine, like, what do you mean? Like,
if you're fine,
you peek under the hood for
why
what?
not take the risk?
He made a statement, Ngozi, and he said he wakes up every single morning angry.
I said, what?
You said you wake up every single morning angry.
I never said angry.
No, he said sad.
Sorry, sad.
That's heightened at a time when I'm losing my friends and stuff like that. So me, whatever coping mechanisms I have and normally go throughout my day, when I'm feeling pain and grief in real time, it's harder to do that, innit? So them feelings come to the forefront. For the most part, like, there's not a lot of things that make man happy. Like, man is sad because man's been through so much, but it's like, okay, cool. What do you want to do? Like, if you care about people and you've lost them and you've got relationships with them and you want them, you're never going to be happy about the situation.
Mark, can I ask you a question? Do you invest?
In myself?
No, like, do you invest like in
Business-wise.
stocks and like, do you invest? Are you a risk taker or something you want to do?
Don't talk about crypto.
No, I want to look into it though.
Okay, but do you do any sort of investment in something that's a risk? So I don't know if this podcast everything's a risk. You want this to be successful.
Yeah.
You've got. It's not promised that this will be like, I don't know. I can't give an example right now, but this will be the best podcast. But you're hoping, right? It's a risk. You're taking a risk with 5 friends to do something, right? That's therapy. It's a risk. You're saying that, what's the point? What I'm going to do? It is a risk. If you are, to me, I'll say this. Last thing I'll say this is, if you are very comfortable with how you are, right, then it's just a risk. Why not just see what happens? You can't make a decision on something you have not done or progress. The same way you cannot determine the stocks for tomorrow without actually understanding the algorithm and the formula. You haven't yet studied, you haven't yet been under a process to even say, nah, it didn't work for me. If you did that, you gave it a substantial amount of time, you invested in that, and which is a risk. You said, you know what, I did it. See, Brent, I did it. It didn't work for me. But you haven't done that. You're using what you think.
Risk everything popping down. That don't make no sense.
Life is a risk.
No, but if you say because I think earlier you were mentioning something. You said, if you're fine, then if you believe you're fine, then don't just do it. So it's a risk anyway. But risking everything coming down, if you're
Risking
confident
everything
that you're
going up.
fine,
Yeah, you might just go there and stay calm as you are, or you might go there and be the better version of you are, but you don't know what that version is. You're already assuming what that version will be, and I'm like, can you see the future?
And I think ultimately that is with therapy, it does do that where, because I feel like obviously got your commitment to it and all that kind of stuff. Really, the only way is up because you're essentially taking that step to figure a lot of stuff out. So it can only get better, can't it?
Potentially, it depends on the person.
If you put the
work in, you want it. So that's where I would end that with you, Marks. If you are a risk taker in anything in your life, I would say see therapy as a risk. That's how I think. Reframe it. Don't see therapy as I'm just going to talk about my life and dig up things that I already put in the Pandora's box. Be a risk taker. If you're a risk taker in every other area of your life, why not in your emotional well-being and the stuff that you've gone through? It may or may not do any difference. And if it doesn't, then you've proved your point. You can say, Brent, do a bet. Say, Brent, I'm going to do 6 months of therapy. I will give you £50 or £100 if it doesn't work. Like, do it in that way. Reframe it in a way that fits your worldview. You're not an Esther. You're not a Yusuf. You don't think like that. So however it fits your worldview, if it's like, you know what, I'm going to take it seriously, but let me do a bet. Let's do something. Let's go on a holiday. If I do it and it works for me, we're doing a holiday. Do you know what I mean? And then see how it works. And I bet you any money, you probably will benefit.
Brent, obviously, like Brent knows me, innit? Brent's worried, yeah. I personally think I'm cool and I'm strong enough to, and obviously, like the stuff that he's talking about is there. If I've managed to be all right, yeah, and live my life how I'm living it, and I know I'm gonna be cool because I ain't got no other choice. Because if I was gonna be mad, I would have been mad a long time ago. My brain don't work like that. I'm telling you, yeah. But I don't understand why we need to unpack this intense sadness for. I don't understand.
Because the cup is filling up every day.
So when he talks to me, Ngozi, is that a form of therapy?
Not a form of therapy, but it's a form of healing.
Healing.
It's cathartic, isn't it?
Okay.
If it helps him. Sorry, let me say this. I do think everyone should do therapy, and I do lean towards we should all have, but I do get there is a small portion, population of people that genuinely feel they don't need it, and maybe they don't. When I say they don't, I mean their life is okay. Really, let me say this. It's like this kind of thing of, there's people, let's say in Africa, but there's people in the world that are poor, and that's all they know is poor. But let's say one day they just take a trip to the UK or to somewhere, they're like, damn, people are living this way? They don't know. But they could be their champions of what they live because they don't know any better, right? So it's what you know. If Mark, this is what you know. So what you know is what you know. And if it's okay and it's working for you, but that's why I said there's a risk. If you decide to think, you know what is the other side doing? You've probably got friends that have gone therapy and you might go, but they needed it though, fair enough. But you've seen friends and they said, oh, it did okay for them. Why not? But that's what I would just say, just do it as a risk. But what I would say is, Brent, you're a good friend. So, you two are a good friend. So I think to have somebody there that is hopeful, and even if you never do it, Mugs, but just to have someone there that cares so much about your mental state, I think is a good friend to have. So if you even don't do therapy, obviously you don't necessarily use Brent as a therapist, but I just think that relationship is what we need. We need more of that, people that go to bat for our own mental state even more than we do sometimes.
And a guy like me, maybe a guy like Emmanuel, I don't know if you want me to speak for you also, right?
You might have side-eyeing you.
Brent is like, today I'm going to talk for everybody.
Getting it.
I've analysed you now. Now I'm telling you.
Let me just talk for myself. Like,
In front of company, no less.
I do question what I would benefit from therapy, right? Because I would say that I'm self-aware. I would say that.
How did you become self-aware?
And that's a good question to ask. And in my head, if this is what therapy is, then it's cool. If it's just a conversation to find out whether it is I'm just chatting absolute crap and I haven't done the things that I'm thinking that I'm doing, then to me that's good because it makes me more aware, I guess. But you've now told me that I'm aware as opposed to just me saying it. But I guess because I don't kind of mix with too many people intimately, there's certain things that I would have never experienced to even find out that I might need to change something about me. I don't believe that any of the traumas that I have been through has affected the manner in which it is I can be kind to people. But then again, I'm not in relationships like that to even know if what I've said doesn't affect people hasn't presented itself yet, right? Sorry. So I too question what I would get from therapy. I too question whether me going in would be very, very combative just to find out if is this even for me?
Mm.
Do you understand? And my mind works like that. I'm always curious, and I'm always thinking, let's see.
Yeah, you'll be that client that'll be like, let me see what this person's doing.
And I'm open to it only because of the curiosity.
So I would just say to this, I would say that, because I want to add to those also in the chat, that therapy isn't just for things that's, trauma. It unleashes your potential.
This is it.
So you might be like,
there's more.
Look, I'm not trying to go to the back there. I want to be the best version I can be, right? Because it depends on what you do. Maybe you don't want to be that, right? But, I'm at a point where I know where I'm trying to go financially, right? On generational wealth. When I tell you I've got the amount of mentors and coaches I have, I've got physical, I've got a PT, I've got a therapist, I've got like 2 supervisors, I've got coaches in every area of business that I'm in, because I want to get to a certain point that I know I didn't grow up in that. I grew up in Islington and Hackney. I didn't see any of that. So sometimes I might be doing the things that I'm doing, but thinking like, can little old Ngozi from Ends do what I'm doing? And also stay true to myself. I haven't changed. So all of this stuff, when they tell me about myself, they gas me. I'm like, I can do anything. What? Yes. So it's about also unleashing your potential. So what my therapy did, not just go into my trauma, but it made me accept myself, because I'm multifaceted. And I thought it was wrong to want to do many things, because we're growing up, you've got to do one thing, right? And I can't, if I just focused on one thing, if I was just doing my doctorate, I'd fail my doctorate. I have to do multiple things. But it was therapy that allowed me to accept that. So then now I do multiple things. I'm doing multiple things successfully, and I'm being a better version of myself. But I wouldn't have been able to do that without therapy, because I was constantly battling the whole idea of, okay, just do this, just focus on this. Jack of all trades is the master of one, all of that stuff. So I would say, if you're thinking, you know what, I don't think my trauma has adversely affected me, because some people don't. Some people have gone through trauma and the adverse effects are not as prevalent. But then flip it. Where do I want to be in the future, and how do I get there? You can't get there on your own. Your bedrooms are good, but they're not going to also help you to get there. They're not there in your mind. You shouldn't even be using them for that. So you need to pay, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a therapist, to help you unleash the potential that you have. So that's how I would see it. It doesn't have to be like, this happened. It could be about, I want to, and then that's where the therapist will question you. Why are you so driven? So I had to be questioned, why is we driven? And I was scared. One of the biggest things I said to my therapist, I said, I don't want you to make me feel that all the things that I'm doing, basically, I didn't want to drop my ambition. I'm very ambitious. Yeah. When people meet me, but I'm not ambitious in a nasty way. I just believe in the impact. So my ambition is not just money. I believe I can make significant impact in this world. Yeah. Right. But when I went therapy, I was scared I would lose that, because also I knew it also wasn't all healthy. It came from the fact that I said it in another podcast. I didn't know, but I realized years later I was on the special needs table. I've got no special needs. But because I didn't peak until later, I was on the special needs table. One guy was picking his nose, one guy's there putting them himself. And I was like, wait a minute, what happened? So I was probably trying to prove to whoever, it wasn't my mum, and it wasn't even teachers, but just whoever, that I'm smart enough, that I'm doing that. But once I dealt with that, the drive is still there. It's even more. But now it hasn't got all of those other elements added to it that was partly not good. Do you see what I mean? So even just if therapy is more for the future and more about goals and achievement, there might be some of your determining drivers just need to make sure that they are foundational right, rather than it's got element of maybe this and maybe that. So that's what I would say. Then that helps. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going over, this happened. You don't have to do that. Look, it's fine. Let's just talk about where do you want to go and why? Where does that come from? Why? Because some people don't actually want to be. So for me, I understand as a therapist, but as a person, if I met somebody that's not ambitious, I don't get that. I get it as a therapist, but as a person, I'd find that uncomfortable. Because knowing where I came from, my mum hopped on a plane, overstayed in this country, suffered, for me not to do more, that to me doesn't make any sense, right? So, but that could be their normal, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if I was a therapist now and I was sitting to someone, I'd be like, where does that come from? It's not a bad thing. Where does your drive come from? Where does your lack of drive come from? Where does your desire for soft life come from? Where does your desire for struggle come from? Doesn't have to be like, all of this big T trauma. Then that kind of helps. And
beautiful. I'm sold.
Yeah.
See, Marks, it's a tune-up. It makes you better.
But I kind of see.
I simplified that. Sorry, I just did it on purpose.
I think the thing is with me, I feel like I know how I see things, how I behave. Like when viewed by the masses, would be considered toxic. Like I know.
At me next time, okay?
No.
I need an example.
No. I actually meant like
I need an example. What
Like,
do you mean?
in terms of like the emotional sense? Like, I'm not emotional. I'm not.
I heard you say that, and I don't believe that because everybody's emotional. So when you say emotional, what do you mean by that?
Like, you know, the displays of like crying and them.
Yeah, so you don't display emotion. You feel emotion, right?
Yeah, I guess
so you
so.
feel sadness. So somebody passed away that you loved and cared. You're not going to be like, okay.
But you would never see it.
Yeah, but that's the difference. So
Yeah.
being emotional, I know what we mean, but it's usually when we say we express that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about for you is that does that mean that's toxic? People will see that's toxic.
No, because I know a lot of people, like even like Yusuf was saying, oh, like, you know, men should be more vulnerable and things of that nature. Like I get it and it makes sense to me, but I feel like the alternative to what I am isn't what I want to be.
I don't agree that. Okay, let me say this. See, this is where we do extremes, right? So, Mugs, there's a part of you that comes from an extreme, and there was a part of you that you both, when you guys were talking, Yusuf and all of that, there is no right or wrong. It's just about being healthy. Healthy to you might be different, right? So we need men like you. If you are driving a plane and the plane is going down, I don't want you to be like, oh my god. You need to get there, and move the thing.
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
That's
I'm
why
taking a nap.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So we need people that under stress they move, like they do things. That's just reality, right?
Let her land
So-
the point, Iman. He agrees too quickly.
However, society's gone to an extreme where men can't. There's a difference. Can't show their emotions. There's a difference if you say, I can, I just choose not to because I prefer the alternative of doing that in my own space. But that's different. But if you feel that you can't, that's the issue. Right? So with Yusuf, he's saying that he can. I'm sure Yusuf don't cry to everybody. It's select few. He doesn't just to my man, them, oh my God, this girl broke up with me. But there'll be a few guys that he'll be like, bro, I'm not happy with. Some guys will be like, yeah, I'm good, yeah. Because he knows if he does say he's not good, they're not going to say nothing anyways. So it's about you're using wisdom and being selective. And it's about the option it's about the choice and power. So where I would push back if you were saying is if you felt you could not be, like you can't do that. That means you're not in control. Because if you are saying, from your understanding as a man should always be in control. So a man should be able to choose if he was vulnerable, choose if he was not. Not that I can't be vulnerable. That's a difference.
I guess so, but I feel like, respectfully, that's a nice way of, you know what I mean, like bigging up the other side. I feel like my side.
No, I'm genuinely not. I'm bigging
You know what
up.
I'm saying, Mark, isn't it?
I'm bigging up your side. I honestly feel my husband leans more towards you.
Okay.
He has not. He cried the last time he did cry, which I've been married. I've known him for 4 years. I've never seen him cry, right? But last time he cried was when his sister passed. But he went back. He went back the same day. Right, and he went back the same day when his sister passed, right? So he's a bit like you. Now he's emotional in a different way. So he's very romantic. So he shows it in that way. But honestly, sometimes I say, babe, you're kind of cold because like even when a family member passed away recently, he was just like, why everyone crying, man? Like just you know what I mean? But every time I sit there and go, it's a good balance. If he was like me, that would not be attractive. That would be thing. So I say it from a place of I genuinely think that it is okay because I think society is on this toxic masculinity and all of that really annoys me. But what I'm also just trying to push is the idea because I think some people that come from your side, they don't know that they're saying without saying it, that they are actually not in control. Like, I don't be vulnerable. It's different saying, I just choose not to express my emotions the way society says I need to express that. As long as you feel the emotion, that's what's important.
Okay,
Some people can't feel it, they're numb. And if you're numb,
I think you will feel the emotions, but you can, I think, because I feel emotions, but you can control them. People who can't control their emotions, that's dangerous. That's not even healthy because then you can't even control the decisions that you're making in your life. If you act emotionally on everything that happens, like.
But those are two extremes, Mark.
Too volatile.
But those extremes, you both are. Because whenever you're using this, that's what we do as human beings. But whenever we use examples to say why we are a certain way, we use an extreme, right? Overly emotional and then not emotional. There's a middle ground, there's a whole spectrum between that. It's like, there's people that don't show emotion and there's people that just constantly crying. It's something like majority of us are not even on those sides. We're usually right here in the middle. Maybe more people are more, they got their heart on the sleeves and more people are like, no, I hide my heart. But as long as both of you are feeling that, that's the whole point of personality and diversity. We shouldn't all be the same. So it's not being right or wrong. It's just being that I express myself differently, which is an amazing way. And that's it, and you don't. But where I think Yusuf was also going to it is that then what you do see with a lot of men, and particularly black men, is the scary side when maybe if you're saying, because this is where it gets dangerous, is that if you are like that, but your partner, let's say you've gone through miscarriage, trigger warning, your partner needs you. You both need each other. And if you are like, bruv, get over it, why are you crying? The baby's gone.
I'm boxing in the throat.
And that is where this whole not being emotional impacts. The same with a child. The child falls.
Yeah.
Why are you crying? That's what we're saying. But if it's like you are able to say, darling, but in your head thinking, oh God, why is my child crying? That's different. But you make sure that the child understands that it's fine to cry. Then that's different. Yeah. You make sure your wife or your partner is comforted. That's different. Even if maybe you just deal with it differently. The issue is that you expect her or whoever to deal with it how you would. And also vice versa. The woman might think you should do it the same way. And that's where I would say the pushback comes from a lot of people.
My mum's always telling me off because I'm always telling my son he shouldn't cry.
So I don't want him to cry. You were the dad I was talking about earlier.
No, because I don't want him to cry for foolishness. When you cry, I need to know that you're hurt. No, but I can see it, so I can ascertain it. If something little happens and he wants to have a big breakdown over something, and I can see he's fine, I will tell him, look, calm down, stop crying, like you're all right. There's nothing, like it's fine. Stop. So
could you consider? Because I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to tell you how to parent your child. But could you consider an alternative ways rather than saying stop, saying what can you do to express your hurt or dissatisfaction other than crying? Can you draw? Do you want to there could be other ways, because the thing is, remember, children cry when they are born. That's the first thing they know how to do. Before anything else, before they suck breast, they cry. So therefore, it's a natural thing as human beings to cry when something happens, right? So until children are able to articulate themselves, Daddy, my leg hurts, right? But when they're like 1 or 2, they're just crying. You have to figure out what's going on, right? Yeah. So it's about finding alternative ways. So like, for example, if... I don't think what happened to me today. Nothing happened to me major, but like when I was going to another podcast the other day, like I was the drink. I had a Costa and it poured. It's like it has to happen to me. I'm very klutzy. So let's say I was young and that happened to me, and my mum said, "Stop crying, don't get upset." It could be better of her saying that. Okay, sit down, breathe. Because in that moment I'm stressed because I'm not trying to be klutzy. I'm klutzy, I'm embarrassed, I'm feeling all these feelings. So some people might go to cry because they don't know how to articulate, I'm embarrassed, I feel all these feelings. So maybe it's best to say, just go to the corner, breathe, jump up and down, do something else. So I'm not saying you shouldn't or not. I'm just saying that it's not about saying stop or not cry. It's about there are other ways to express yourself that are also great.
And I think sometimes
I won't tell him not to cry for everything. If there's something that's worth crying for, I'm gonna you're allowed to cry if you're in pain and stuff and you're hurting. Like you're allowed to cry. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but you're determining that. But you're determining that.
If you just upset, like you're saying, if maybe you felt embarrassed, you just drop the drink or something like that, and nothing hasn't happened to you, you've just lost something or whatever, but you want to start getting into hysterics, I'm gonna tell you stop crying. Nothing ain't happened to you. Calm down, relax. It's all right. If you want me to give you something to cry for, yeah.
But do you know when, like,
Mark, you're killing me.
You know, it's funny because okay, let me give this example. So a lot of people ask in therapy, I haven't gone through much trauma. I haven't gone through a lot of stuff. Can I go therapy? And I say, yeah, of course, because therapy is not just about trauma. Like I said, therapy is just about talking about stuff, right? So let me give you a perfect example. When I was about 2 or 3 years old, my mum, I think, she went to work, and I woke up and I started to scream. Because I was like, where's my mum? Where's she gone? So my neighbour came, and I think she knew mum was going to work kind of stuff, right? Now, that experience was just an experience. But some people have that same experience and feel abandoned in that moment. Right? Because they're a child. They're not able to understand that your mum has gone to make money so you can survive. All you know is that she was not there, right?
Wake up, she's gone.
So when your child drops, I'm not saying your child, Mark, but if a child drops the cup and you might think, why are you crying for that? Come on now. But in their head, maybe they're scared to disappoint you. Maybe they feel like in dropping the cup, you're not going to be happy. They're not crying because the cup dropped. They're crying because they're looking at your reaction to know, oh my God, did I do something wrong? Because we know some of us have gone in African households, you drop a cup, you're getting smacked for a cup. Not saying you did that, Mars, I'm just saying. So I know, I didn't get that directly, but I know I've got friends that dropping a cup would get them beats. So dropping a cup, they're crying because they know now they're getting beats, not because they dropped the cup. The cup is just dropped. But it's the reaction, it's the way the parents will make them feel. And you would be very surprised that 2, 3, however a child is, you might not have done nothing, but they can pick up on things. So a child will know that maybe you've never beat them for dropping a cup, but you don't like that. You side. So that side is displeasure, and they don't want to displease. One of the biggest things for children, just in terms of attachment, is that they want to please their parents. So that is the reason why you will find children that are severely abused still loving their parents. Because how children deal with abuse is that they basically split it and say, I must be wrong. Because they can't put it on their parents. In their head, they're thinking, no, it can't be my parents. Even though the parents are doing it to them, they say, I must be wrong. Yeah. So if it's their wrong, they can control it and therefore how can I behave so my parents will like me? Rather than, because they're not adults, they're not going to say, actually, it's my parents that are abusing me. I don't deserve this. Children don't think like that.
Yeah, man. I think what you just said there about the reasons why a child may cry, as opposed to just
the actual action. The thing.
I think that's a poignant one for me, because my little girl, like you were saying, right, when she came into the world, she didn't cry. So when she came out, really?
She must know who her daddy is.
That's what I'm saying. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, cool. Like after the worry, I'm thinking, this girl's like her dad. This is how it's meant to be.
Hold on. I saw the notes. So when she was just like, she just did that.
She just came out. She was looking around. She was looking for me.
She did that? Really?
No, and the doctor was like trying to get her to do the cry and all that type of thing. After a while, I'm like, relax. This is normal
She's
for us.
fine, okay? This is what we do in this household.
What I'm saying? But
you're ridiculous. I said it's normal for us.
But at the same time, and no disrespect, she's a woman, right? So, well, a girl.
I can't believe you're out here embarrassing me
know
Ngozi like this.
You don't know how I am, innit? But right.
Yeah, this is how he is. This is what I do.
So
with
it's like
daily.
I know she's gonna be crying in life, right? So what about you? All right. Oh man.
Wow. I'm not laughing. Go on. I know what you're saying.
Right,
it's just hearing you say it is so funny.
All right. Cool.
I'm past the point of laughing.
But like, I mean, she's obviously going to be more emotional than me, right? Cool. So I think it's good for me to kind of remember that sometimes it's not because of the actual thing, but her crying because maybe she thinks that's kind of hard, and so he will be disappointed at me. And I think that's definitely something I don't want her to feel. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just want to say that was a good point.
This is a good, what you just said, this awareness shows to me that you are emotional. You are able to understand. Let me just say this, nobody will say they're not emotional unless you want to be a psychopath. Like if you want to be an antisocial personality disorder, those are the people that actually mimic emotions. They don't understand emotions. That's why I say most people, we're using words because we're trying to say we're not doing extreme.
Yeah.
But actually you're just saying that you don't just display your emotions and you're not, and this is a good thing. Like knocking your leg might make me have tears in my eyes. You just be like, just a knock leg. It will hurt, but there's different levels of tolerance of pain. Yeah. But you saying that shows me as a parent, you are aware that you've got a human child that you're developing 100%. And you want her to understand all of her emotions and not think they are bad, just how to express it at appropriate times.
That's it, yeah.
See, I'm not on the other side, am I?
I want to get into as well, because you're the CEO and founder of Frontline Therapists. So can you let us know how that came about and what that's about?
Yeah, so Frontline Therapist is a culturally sensitive counselling service. So it essentially matches Black and Asian and mixed heritage counsellors to Black and Asian and mixed heritage individuals. But there's also white counsellors and white people. So, but that's the reason why it exists. It honestly came about because I saw a need and I needed to fill it. You know, there's obviously a bit of a story to that, but I saw a need and I needed to fill it. Like there is a lack of. There's a lack of choice. If you go to therapy on the NHS, which we're thankful we have, but you're given whoever you're given, right? Because one, there's a waiting list, so you don't even have much choice to say, oh, can I have someone else? You know you're going to wait another 6 months or 3 months or 6 weeks, however long it takes. So it was to be a solution to particularly us wanting somebody that might have more cultural relevance. Because I always say, having a Black therapist doesn't mean you'll get on, because my therapist is white, but I want the Black therapist. And Black therapist that I went to, I just didn't connect with her. And mainly because I just felt this was the typical therapy situation. Like I felt like it was like Frasier. Did anyone watch Frasier back in the day? Frasier.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that recently.
And I just felt like it was like Frasier. She told me to take off my shoes, and I was just like, oh,
I'd rather
okay. Yeah. I just just the whole vibe, and she just sat there. And whereas my current therapist, like she was leaning back like this, and she was like, I'm white, you're Black, let's talk about it. I was like, okay, I like that, you know. Yeah. And she's idiosyncratic like me, you know. So I got attracted to like her, and we connected, but it was a difficult decision. I said to her, I want a Black therapist, and you're not white. You're what I want, just in a wrong race, like in the wrong color. But we were able to work through a lot of different stuff. So I just have to say that because I don't want people to think, yeah, black therapist is going to be the best for me. However, I think it's about having choice. If that's what you want, you should be able to have that. You should be able to have somebody who might understand the nuance. They won't understand you because your family is your family, but will understand what it might be like to be an African household, what it might be like to be in a Caribbean household, what might be like to be British, African, or Caribbean, because it is different. British, African, and Caribbean, if you've been born here or at least raised here most of our lives, it's different to those that come from the continent. They think differently, they act differently, they maneuver differently. So those nuances, though we can't supply that. You can't tell me you need a. I got one time. I need an Igbo therapist. We won't be able to do that, provide that for you, or a Yoruba therapist, but we can provide a black therapist. May or may not be Nigerian, or may or not be Ghanaian or Jamaican. So there are limits. It can't be like that. But yeah, that's essentially what it's there for. It's to help people have a choice and essentially feel comfortable, because already it's a barrier to go therapy, and you don't want the therapist to be another barrier. At least you say, okay, this person is likely to have a sense about. I don't have to break down that. Ends. What does ends mean? Ends is an area. That's what it means. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So that's why it's created.
Okay. And in addition to that as well, because you do a lot, you also have a coaching and consultancy service for women who are in faith for business. Can you tell us more about that as well, please?
Yeah, so under Ngozi Cadmus, which is my personal brand and stuff, so I do public speaking. This is really for women of faith, so primarily Christian women who know that they're called for something greater. But the reality is we're not taught how to be leaders, generally, let alone if you're in faith. You're not taught how to be leaders. So it's to support and facilitate that process so that you can be all that God has called you to be, and you can achieve all that you feel that you're being called to, in a space where we can read scriptures, read Bible, go through things. And also if you want to do like a coaching business, I support that because, I would say everyone needs a hustle. Everyone needs a side hustle. We need additional income streams. And if you feel called to help people, coaching is a very, very good way to just help people, because you can help people in areas that you've been successful in. Yeah.
Okay, and the inspiration behind that, or wanting to start that, was that your personal, because you're a Christian woman who does think that way, who's ambitious, or is it because, again, you saw like a need for people that you're around?
So my biggest thing is that that's why I say I'm multifaceted. My biggest thing is that I feel like women are pigeonholed. Your mother. Okay, yeah. You're a career person. Like, it's difficult to be one or the other. Like Oprah's a perfect example. She had to sacrifice to be where she is. Or, even is it Venus Williams? Venus Williams is the best women tennis player of all time. Yeah. But you can see, though she was doing amazing, once she had pregnant and got children, she can't get to where she, you can see the difference of what childbirth does to a woman than a man could, he's not birthing the child. So in society, and culturally, even in the Christian faith, there's a thing where it's like, you have to choose. Why do I have to choose? Why can't I be all? Now, is it easy? No. But is it doable? Yes. Yeah. Obviously, you've got to have certain conditions. You've got to have a good family and support system. But that's the reason why I believe that women can be multifaceted. We can do all that we think we can do. And I'm saying how we can have it all, because I don't believe we can have it all, because there's always sacrifices and compromises. But we can do all that we can achieve as humanly possible, with certain steps and support and resources. So I just really believe in being multifaceted, because that was, I think, one of my biggest things, feeling weird for wanting to do more than one thing. And also, lastly, I also wanted, I feel like, and maybe it's not a bad thing, but for me, I confused artistry with creativity. So I'm very creative, but I'm not creative in the music sense, or even though I used to dance and act, but I'm not creative in that sense anymore, right? But because growing up, I remember this day, I'll never forget it. I was colouring in year 3, and then I got told off for not colouring within the lines. And I remember saying to myself, I hate art, and I'm not creative. And from that day, I did not see myself as a creative person. I just assumed creativity was all artistry, if you're art, all of that. Yeah. So, and a lot of people think like that. A lot of people say I'm not creative because they're not a content creator. They're not doing podcasts. That's not creativity. That's an aspect. Creativity is literally taking an idea and fulfilling it. If you're able to take an idea that wasn't in existence and bring it into existence, that is creativity. And that was also what I'm passionate about, because I think once you unlock your creativity, that's the creative power, your agency, you can do so much things. And I think if, as Black people, as believers, as just different things, if we actually used our creative agency, the world would be a better place. But we're not using it. We're scared, we're fearful, we have imposter syndrome, we have all of these things stopping us. And then we are like, oh, you know, the world is not like this and the world is not that. It's because not a lot of us are actually tapping into our, you know, our highest potential.
You see all these like different organizations and stuff that you've done. Like, do you have like your Insta pages and Twitter pages?
Oh yes. So you can follow me at Ngozi Cadmus. So NGOZI CADMUS. Frontline Therapist. FRONT. Line, as I'm bad spelling, LINE, and then Therapist, THERAPIST, no S in the end. And then follow Ngozi Cadmus for everything. I'm creating the website for the consultancy because it was under Ngozi Cadmus, but I'm just separating that. But if there's any organizations or any Black employees in an organization and you know that you feel that there's a barrier for you to get into the executive position, I'm talking about C-suite positions, holler at your girl because I work with organizations to do that. And I'm also training to be a non-executive director. So if anyone is interested in knowing more about that, holler at me because we need more of us on boards, you know, steering the decisions that are being made in these big companies. And, you know, when you realize how the FTSE 100 impact all our lives, and there is literally right now, as we speak, there is no Black CEO, COO or Black chair on the FTSE 100.
Wow.
The biggest companies in the UK, there is none of us on that.
It's wild.
Meaning that the decisions that they're being made don't have our input, they have our influence, but who are they impacting?
Yeah.
Is it?
Do you do any work with like back home? Obviously, you've been Nigerian.
Yes, so this is it's difficult because I am what they say, Oyibo, right? So I went to Nigeria in June for the first time since an adult, and I listened because for me, I think some of us in the diaspora are too fast to act like we know what's happening in Nigeria.
It's a white savior complex.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I listen because I listen to a lot of Nigerian podcasts as well, and they are like a lot of them are very much into mental health, but they're also an echo chamber. They're in the creative world. Is that the everyday person though? And a lot of Nigerians actually in my service from Nigeria, and what they say is that they don't trust the system. So though there are therapists in the country, how confidential it is. Next minute in church, you're hearing the pastor talk about you're like,
you're the case study.
How did the person like And so it's like anything. It's like unfortunately the corruption, the rules that should protect the client confidentiality is not there. And so, and also what I was told is that if I created an agency, like a service, physical, nobody would want to be seen going in there. Nobody, not yet. Like, even though people are still more open to it, is the fact that you've got something, go in there. So do I do it in a way like it's got physical health with it? So it's about, seeing how I can do this. I'm thinking in the next maybe 5 to 10 years, also I want to impact policy. So I might go via the policy route first.
Okay.
Also, there's so much corruption. And I'm not saying you can't do business without something, but I'm not born that way. I'm not like that. Maybe my husband can give me, he's a worry, so he can do things, but I can't be like, I know me, I would feel uncomfortable. I would feel very uncomfortable with that. So until that is lessened, I feel like even if it's just a little, I feel like me and God would be having conversations about how did you start. Now you can, because I do have a mentor that has done it, but it is hard. It is really hard. And I'm not living in that country. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's difficult, but yes, my biggest passion is to impact the mental health policy and Black leadership in the UK, maybe in America as well, but definitely UK and Nigeria.
Yeah.
Love that.
This has been one of the best conversations I've ever 100%.
had. Oh wow!
Honestly. No, honestly, it's been...
How do you feel, Yusuf? You've been quiet.
For a reason.
Okay.
Yeah, this has been really really good conversation. I kind of want you to be my therapist, but I'm gonna talk to you about that after. Because this has been really good. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and I hope a lot of people have learned a lot. Yep. I know we have in this room, I would say, and in Mark's room. Yeah,
Marks, how was it?
I know, it was sensational, man. Be up yourself.
Marks is so Marks. But get into our Wicker Joke segment.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right.
Okay, so Woke or joke, right? So today,
Or let Ngozi know what's about.
exactly. So basically, woke or joke is our segment where that we do every Thursday, and basically we kind of throw in a conspiracy theory, some type of idea, and basically kind of interrogate and see where everyone kind of feels about it, and actually feels though, is it a woke situation or is this like a joke thing?
Okay, so woke or joke?
Yes.
And woke is you agree,
Yeah.
and joke is nah.
It's foolishness.
This-
Yeah.
It's like foolish.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So, the control center of the human body, the brain, right? Do you feel like scientists can replace your brain? So, do you feel like they could create a new brain, put it in your head, and you could function? Do you feel like that's an idea?
Woke.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, I'm a conspiracist.
Okay. You need to elaborate on that.
So, not that I don't know if it would work, but I feel that there are powers at play. There are people, like we saw in Germany what they were trying to do with eugenics.
That's
like,
true.
There are people, and maybe it's because government is restraining them or not. They're doing things. Things are being done in this world, but fortunately, we're not seeing. But those are in the know, and let's just be grateful that we don't see it. So whether it will work, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's people just disappear. Where did the person go?
Yeah.
In Nigeria, people disappear. They're harvesting organs and stuff. So I believe it's happening. And if it's not happening in the UK and the West because it's a bit more civilized, it's definitely happening in African Asia, but it's happening here too. So I think that if I think it's whether how good it is or functioning. If it's like what's that Frankenstein? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it's woke.
So are they creating a new brain, or are they using someone else's brain?
Well, it's a new brain. So if I told you that scientists were doing this, right, would you believe it? Do you think it's even possible?
No.
No. Okay, why?
I believe, because you know me and my conspiracy about the people getting got and people disappearing anyhow. So I believe that they can use other people's brains and stuff. So I could die.
Okay.
And then they put someone else's brain. Say I get brain damage or something, they can put someone else's brain. God forbid, of course, Nigerian us. And they put someone else's brain in mine.
Yeah.
I can believe that.
Okay.
But in terms of like them making a brain from scratch, I don't know if I believe that.
Oh, you say brain from scratch? I thought you meant so
not a brain transfer.
Yeah.
It will. So okay. Now that point is added. The principle of what I said in terms they can put someone else's brain, a brain from scratch. I don't know, but the reality, God's given man creative agency, and he's been made in his they made an image. So like if I could believe man can create a human being, but would it be a human the way we know as a human being, like soul, spirit, and body? No, but it will be of some likeness, just because. There's some brainy people in this world that do some funny things, but it would be difficult to say they can make it from scratch. They will it could be synthetic. So let me say this: would it be the brain matter that you are born with that's evolved in 9 months in the belly? No, but I'm sure they can create a synthetic brain from scratch. Yes,
and it can make decisions and do things.
There's a computer. We have computers.
Okay,
that make decisions. We train them to make decisions. So there'll be an algorithm that will make the brain to make a decision.
I thought that's what I'm trying to do with robots anyway.
Yeah, but those are like mechanical devices.
Yeah, but you're talking about consciousness. No, they can't have consciousness. They don't have a soul.
Okay.
But are they? So that's the thing. All our decisions are influenced by our soul. That's why I said I don't agree you're not emotional, because every decision is an emotional decision. It just might not be like, I'm making a decision.
Yeah.
A robot can't do that, but they can still make the same decision. They can decide to pour water.
Yeah.
But not because they're thirsty.
Okay. Yeah. There's no reason behind it.
It's just,
they haven't got hormones. They haven't got they haven't got the biological components that we have. But they can function in the same way if there's an algorithm that tells them to do so.
Okay. What about you, Margs and Yusuf? What do you guys think?
I need the question.
Do you feel like they could create like a new brain, right? So
from scratch.
Not replace your brain with somebody else's old brain, but make a brain in a lab and put it in your head.
Make a brain in the lab.
Yeah. And it function like a brain. What do you think? That's just like conspiracy theory.
I think it's a conspiracy. I think brain's one of the only human organs that can't be recreated.
Okay.
I think there's a lot more that goes into the brain than just a physical function. Like the heart, the physical function is to beat. The brain, as far as I'm aware, the brain is still. So everything that goes on is all about, I don't know what word.
The neurons and things.
Neurons and that stuff, and I don't think you can create that.
Okay.
If it was possible in the future, for them to like upload your brain into a different brain, so you're exactly who you are, just in a different body, that, and then obviously you can go and live in. Would you do it?
Ain't that metaverse already?
Nah, that's just because that's not real. I mean, like real.
Would I do it?
upload you in a new, fresh brain.
No.
You can have a go.
Nope. Mm-mm.
I like me where I am.
Do you mean like as a way to kind of escape death?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I go old though? Because I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be here 1,000 years later and I'm looking like 1,000 years old.
No, you get a new body in it. You just get a new one every 20, 50 years.
Oh, like the Kardashians did. That's cute.
Esther's the quickest on the planet, you know.
Her comebacks, right?
All right, cool. Well, let me tell you this. Researchers, I'm just going to read something to you guys here. Researchers have grown brain cells in a lab that have learned to play ping pong.
Wait, they've grown.
They've grown this, right? They're calling it a mini brain, right? It can sense and respond to its environment.
Yeah, but can't a robot do that though? Ping pong is just back and forth, innit?
No, but this is a brain.
They're
this
using
is
tissue.
Yeah.
Tissue, that's great.
They're saying, like what you're saying, just doing it for, just the action.
Yeah.
This is actually, the ball's coming here and I need to hit the ball. So I'm moving.
So you
here
understand you need to.
Exactly.
Do you know, I like science. I think that God, blessed humans with knowledge, with intelligence, with wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to take it too far. Mm-hmm. I don't know that a new brain needs to be created.
Yeah, but you never know the need, innit?
I guess. But I don't know. I just think sometimes with humans, just a step too far sometimes.
Mm. Well, what they done, basically, they grew human brain cells from stem cells and some from mouse embryos to a collection of 800,000, right? And they connected this mini brain to like a video game via electrodes, revealing which side the ball was on and how far from the middle, from the paddle and things of that nature. And in response, the cells produce electrical activity of their own. And they expended less energy as the game continued. But when the ball passed a paddle and the game restarted with the ball at a random point, they expended more, recalibrating to a new unpredictable situation. So basically, long story short, they learned how to play that game at 5 minutes, right? It missed the ball sometimes, but the success rate was well above what they would say this is just random. So the brain knew what it was doing.
But that shows you how amazing God is, that how the brain is that amazing.
Yeah. But are you guys scared now?
No.
I'm a child of God. I ain't got nothing to be scared about.
We know there's some Frankensteins out here that they are, so...
Do we? We?
Oh, sorry.
We is French, sis. We.
Oh, I've met people and what they've told me, boy. That's what I'm saying. It's good that we just live in our lives and just do.
Can you give an example?
Well, like fake humans, yeah.
What are you talking about? Because I'm probably
can't do that to me.
We're like.
Do you want me to die? No, literally. Do you want me to not come back again? But let me just say. Let me just say, I've met some James Bonds. Let me just put it like that, James Bonds, and they've told me things. So, and I was scared for 2 weeks.
Serious.
Followed for 6 months and put my phone in the fridge. So went through a period.
6 months.
I was yeah. So there's Let's move on. Next topic.
Are you one of them?
Am I?
I'm just...
No, if I was, I'd be doing. Nah. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a spy, you know.
Did you?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to be.
Okay, to be fair, I had a dream of being on being part of MI5.
I did,
but they wouldn't recruit me. So.
Oh, is it? Do you know, I didn't know that you. I thought you got chosen. It was when I was 16 on the bus. I saw like, do you want to join the MI5?
Yeah.
And by that time, I gave up on the dream. But I was so upset.
Yeah. I wish I'd gone into life wanting to do that.
I thought they randomly just like tapped on the shoulder and be like.
No, you could apply.
You give your card.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. I thought you were just selected. That you're walking, someone just says you will be a good spy.
Exactly.
It's on the civil service jobs website.
What?
Dead ass.
Honestly.
But you got to do some. I told you guys where I failed. I had to do an assessment.
But hold on, you actually applied.
Yes, I applied.
Oh my God.
And I had to do like tests, and I didn't go through with the test, and so now I'm on TDA.
What test was it that you didn't pass?
It was a maths test. But basically, they give you like a few that you gotta be quick with it.
Oh, wow.
Very sharp.
I think you could have done it, Esther, you know.
I could have, but I don't know. I think actually, I'm not sure. But I think when you apply, if you don't get through, you have to wait like a significant amount of time before you apply again. But yeah. But if I was part, I wouldn't tell you guys anyway.
Of course.
You just come on here, talk about something I don't like, but that's fine. You're next on my list.
Should be at the midnight.
I would dump you, Nigeria. But no, yes. I honestly always wish I did like a job like that where I'm like a spy or like an agent or I've just got to use my and I got to be so hidden. Oh,
honestly, that's what I dream about most of the night.
best thing. I love
dream
it.
about being a spy.
It'd be so lit.
Oh my god,
it'd be so lit.
Honestly.
All right. Someone in the comment section asked, "God first or science first?" I believe that they seem to think that if it is that you are a scientist, you can't really be a Christian.
No, that's
No,
not at all.
check out Craig. His name's Craig. Right, Craig, scientist Christian. He's a top scientist, and he's a Christian.
Doesn't science just find ways to just look to glorify God a bit more?
Kind of, yeah.
Science just is the how of what God created. God created the moon and the skies, the stars, all of this stuff. It's how the hydrogen and the nitrogen put together. Of course, we understand there's scientists that don't believe in God, but science, founding fathers of science were all of faith.
Yeah, exactly.
But they were so inspired and awed by God's creation that they wanted to understand how it operated.
Yes.
And then that's how science was birthed.
That's Michael Faraday. Exactly the same. Yeah. Newton. Where are these guys?
So it's not God first and science, because you can't put God and science on the same level anyways.
No.
Science is the knowing of things. God is existence. It's life. So
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, Kevin. I didn't know how to articulate your question. To me, it was very obvious, but.
what was the question? Is he?
No, he was just saying
it?
he just wanted to know what you felt about it. Earlier
Okay.
on, he said that how are you in this particular profession? And
psychotherapy.
Yeah. So I think we had answered that question earlier on.
Okay.
But you kinda
No, it's a
came in.
good question though. I do believe a lot of psychotherapists like. Should I be controversial here? Maybe not. No, I will. I felt like in my training, being a Christian wasn't fully allowed, because a lot of the therapists, I think, were brought up, maybe not necessarily Christian the way I am, but they were brought up with some sort of faith, and there was a lot of rebellion against it. So they were looking for alternative approaches to fit with their worldview. And I think a lot of Christians in psychotherapy world also kind of feel a bit isolated, especially if you're a Christian and black, maybe. So I hear what he says. There is a sense of that. That's the reason why once you pass, and as long as you're operating ethically, there's freedom. So I feel free now that I've qualified years ago. During my training, there was a level of not being free. But it isn't anything, because you've got to do what they tell you to do. You've got to act in the way they tell you to act. Don't do this, don't say this, don't do this. But now, they didn't teach me how to work with someone that looks like me. Like I have clients that if we weren't clients, we'd be bedrooms. We'd be going to Afrobeat concerts. I've got clients that I haven't seen, but I know they were the same Burnable concert that I was at. Right? Yeah. So you don't get taught how to deal with that. So when I sit with somebody, I have to say, okay, look, we actually like the same things. Like, we're from the exact same cultural background. How do we manage this if I see you outside? Do you want me to say hello? Would you say hello, hug? And when I've seen some of my clients, they hug me, cool. Some people don't want to be like, that's not my therapist, all of this stuff. So to answer the question, it's like any job. It's like law, any job. There's lots of jobs that you can do that might, to a degree, not welcome you in totality. So you've got to constantly wrestle with that and say, how do I bring myself in a field that might not necessarily be as welcoming of what I fully am and believe, and it's a daily thing. I think you've just got to deal with. As long as you're not doing anything totally wrong in that, it's about just constantly wrestling that, and like in the fight for racism, the fight for religious freedom is also part of the fight that we've all got to fight.
Beg you, this is the last question, Kevin, please. Right? So
you don't got to do this, Brent. You don't. This is your platform. You are the executive producer of this show.
It's because I butchered the first one. I just want to be fair.
Okay.
Right? He says, does it make you question free will or individuality after learning all this about the big 5 personalities? I don't know what that means. So. Oh, you don't know either.
I don't know
we'll move on.
But I'll be interested to know if it does. Interested to know, because it'll be good for me to research if it does bring back. What does he mean by the big 5? That would be good to know.
Okay.
Cool. So I'll ask you guys to call in, but it's too late now.
Yep.
Headlines. Let's get into our last headlines for today. I already told you how I felt about this man.
All right, cool. Let me get it up. All right, so next headline is, give me 1 second.
It's a sign.
We won't dwell on this too long. But Mr. Kanye West. All right, so an upcoming episode of the YouTube talk show, The Shop Uninterrupted, I believe that's LeBron James' show, has been scrapped after Kanye West allegedly used hate speech and extremely dangerous stereotypes in that interview.
Oh, wow.
The move came as it emerged that Kanye West had shared a series of comments based on so-called racist conspiracy theories in a separate interview with Fox News. Fox removed those segments before broadcast, but the footage was leaked to technology website Motherboard. West has not commented on either case, although the BBC asked Ye and Fox News for a response. As we reported yesterday, Kanye West was previously suspended from Instagram and Twitter for making anti-Semitic comments. Those posts came in response to a backlash against his show at Paris Fashion Week, where he wore a T-shirt carrying the slogan White Lives Matter. The Anti-Defamation League has called the phrase hate speech and attributed it to white supremacists who began using it in 2015 in response to the Black Lives Matter movement.
So it's his episode with LeBron that's not going to air?
Yeah.
And that's what got leaked?
No, so some of the other show with Carlson,
Fox, yeah.
that got leaked.
And
so I think that made people say, nah.
I'll show the footage later.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to see that.
And the last headline is, are the UK's richest family paying employees below the real living wage?
Of course they are. That's how they stay rich.
Well, let's give them a chance. The UK's richest family has been accused of playing Scrooge after allegations that they refused to pay all UK workers the real living wage, whilst their own personal wealth swelled by 11.5 billion in a single year. That's pounds, yeah, it's not naira. So a company majority owned by the Hinduja family, which was named by the Sunday Times earlier this year as the wealthiest people in Britain, is refusing to offer its workers, who help run a crucial government service, an inflation-matching pay rise. Some workers at HGS, which is the Hinduja Global Services, which is an outsourcing company used by the government to help run the DBS services, which checks potential employees' criminal records. They're paid as little as £9.75 an hour. So that rate is still above the legal minimum of £9.50 for workers aged 23 and over, but it's below the voluntary real living wage, overseen by the Living Wage Foundation charity. So calculated based on what people need to live on, the rate of the real living wage, which is paid by thousands of companies on a voluntary basis, increased last month from £9.90 to £10.90 for workers outside of London. And they're still paying their people £9.75 an hour. A company spokesman came out to deny all of that and basically said any allegation that all staff based in Liverpool are paid less than the living wage is incorrect, which kind of says outside of Liverpool, though, they are probably getting below the real living wage. Yeah, and that's the end of that headline.
All right, well, let's get into the reaction. It's the sports headline.
Can I just say bye to the people?
Of course you can.
Yes. All right, people, I got to go. Unfortunately, I've got some prior engagements like Mark's. I'm as busy as Mark sometimes. And but Ngozi, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I'm sure I can speak for everyone when I say you can come at any time.
Honestly.
Yes.
Conspiracy
100%.
stuff too. Thank you.
Yes.
Let me know I won't be here then. Not joking.
Take care, people.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, cool. So let's get into the reaction. This is my favorite segment. You get what I'm trying to say? If you don't know, if you are late, we've got a new segment, little sports segment. We'll give you the hottest takes on everything that the people them need: football, basketball, boxing, all this stuff. We told you that you could leave voice notes and get involved. You ain't left none yet. So try and do that if there's any sporting takes you don't want to give. But remember, if they're longer than 30 seconds, we ain't going to play them. There we go.
That's so funny.
Why?
It's just the way you said it. You're like, you guys haven't left any yet. But if you leave more than 30 seconds, I'm playing them.
No, that's facts. But get involved though, man. Come on, man. Let's get into this first one. All right, cool. So Liverpool thrashed Rangers 7-1. Champions League stuff. Mohamed Salah scored the fastest ever Champions League hat-trick as Liverpool turned it on in the second half to thrash Rangers 7-1. Rangers took the lead through Scott Arfield, but a brilliant Roberto Firmino, leveled it up and Liverpool took over the half-time, scoring 6 unanswered goals, including 3 in 6 minutes from substitute Salah, to leave the hosts unable to make it through to the last 16. Well, Firmino got his second to give Liverpool the lead on 55 minutes before the Brazilian's flick set up Darwin Núñez to net his second goal in as many games. Salah then took over, scoring the first of his 3 goals on 75 minutes, securing the match ball with 2 more ruthless finishes against the hopeless Rangers defence. That was good. You see that, Yus?
Yeah, I saw the highlights. It was funny how when Rangers scored their first goal, like the way they were celebrating. Obviously, because I was watching the highlights, I knew 7 goals were coming, so it was hilarious to watch.
Yeah, I missed it. I want to see these highlights, but I'll take them in a minute. All right, cool. On to the second one. Shields versus Marshall. This is something for you boxing fans out there. This main event has been 10 years in the making. They are two totally different people. Savannah is quiet and introverted, whereas Clarissa is hard, brash, and outspoken. Some say it has the feel of a Nigel Benn versus Chris Eubank rivalry, and women's boxing need that. Clarissa has the opportunity to right the only wrong that has blemished her boxing record, while Savannah has the opportunity to set her straight. This is a genuine 50-50 fight, which boxing fans have always been screaming out for, and a rivalry which isn't forced or manufactured. They really don't like each other. The general feeling is that Clarissa will win on points, or Savannah will be victorious by knockout. The pair face off in the main event on Saturday in the undisputed world middleweight title fight at the O2 in London, live on Sky Sports. Will you be watching news?
Yes. I will be. Yeah, I'll tune in.
What about you, Esther? Sisters doing it for themselves and that?
Listen, yeah, every time you guys talk about women boxing, I'm in shock that women are intentionally doing these things. No, I will not be watching it. I'm going to be real. I'm here for female empowerment all the time, but no, not that.
Okay, then. Well, it's live on Sky Sports. You will take it in. Boxing fans do this. And the last one, Wilder wants to fight AJ in Africa. I don't know, he's trying to draw from some, I don't know, ancestors, spirits, I don't know what he needs, but that's what he wants to do. It's here. Deontay Wilder believes a bout with Anthony Joshua is still the #1 fight in the world as he prepares to make his return to action on Saturday. Wilder, 36, last fought a year ago and faces Robert Helenius in New York on his comeback. Sorry about that connection. The heavyweight's goal is to become the world champion again, but Wilder has also big plans for a bout against Anthony Joshua. He needs to let it go. He told BBC Sport, "I would love to do that fight in Africa. It's still the #1 fight in the world for everyone. Everywhere I go, people always talk about me versus Joshua. We both have roots from there. I think it would be an amazing place to have it to go back home, to go back to the motherland, a continent full of our people. I can just see that being an amazing fight, win, lose or draw. I think we'll get the respect and love from all the people over there. And I don't think anyone in Africa wants to see you fight Wilder. I'm not gonna lie." But you're entitled to your opinion. What do you think? Did the world want that? Did the world want it?
I think we still want this fight to happen. I don't mind if it's in Africa or Dubai or London, but
this fight.
I think we all still want this fight. Personally, I feel like where they both are right now, they're not in the best space to have the fight in terms of having titles and stuff. But I think people still want to see AJ versus Wilder and AJ versus Tyson Fury.
Maybe there was a time when I would have wanted it, and you got teasing AJ and Fury, and then us not getting it, and then you're giving me these two. It's like, I don't know. They need to go and win some more fights first before that.
Who do you think would win, Muggs? AJ and Fury?
Oh, Fury would win.
Yeah, same.
But who do you, so you think Fury would win, but who would you support? Because that thing is usually people give two different answers, isn't it?
I'll support
AJ. I support Fury.
Oh, you support Fury.
Okay, I'll support AJ. Yeah.
So you're supporting somebody, but you know he's not going to win.
Yeah, that's
actually, do you know what? There's the thought that carries sometimes.
That's sports.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think Fury's a better fighter. I'd want the better fighter to win. So nothing personal. Just
Fury's got the more experience, isn't he? Like, he's been doing it longer, has he?
I think so.
You think? I'm not sure. I think so.
But he peaked late.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know, but yeah, that's the end of the reaction, man. Let's get into final segment. Done Out Ere. I lost it. My Done Out Ere is going to be short and sweet, I think. Who is Done Out Ere this week? Done Out Ere is Sarah Limbrick and the Daily Mail for some rubbish reporting that I'm not really a fan of. So obviously our friend Jamal Edwards passed away, lost his life. It was tragic. And I've been seeing this woman reporting, I've seen the news report come up talking about Jamal was penniless when he died from a heart attack and stuff like that. And I just don't understand why they bring this stuff up. And I don't know whether it's necessary. I don't know who asked for this information. But I'm just looking at it as these are just taking an opportunity to just bring another black man down, even in his death. Just want to just muddy the waters and put this stuff out there. I just don't think there's no there's just no need for it. Like, I just don't understand who asked this information. Do they do this deep dive into people's accounts and bank accounts for everybody that's passed? Why are you not talking about a dead man's pockets for? Like, whatever's happened, I just feel like you just want to ruin his legacy. If we're going to talk about him in public, we should be celebrating him and bigging him up for everything that he's done. And like I said, the legacy and the impact that he's had on our culture and on a lot of our lives. And I just don't feel the need for you to be telling me about what's in his pockets. It's nobody's business. You get what I'm trying to say? It's his family's personal stuff, whether it's true or not, because I don't know about this publication. They always report bullshit anyway. We don't even know the ins and outs of it. You felt the need to put this out there into the world. And I just think it's extremely unnecessary and it's annoying. And like, just moving forward, if you're going to talk about Jamal Edwards, I think it should be in a bright light. You get what I'm saying? In a positive manner. I don't know why you're just trying to air people's dirty laundry for no reason. And again, I don't even know if we can corroborate these findings. I don't know where they got this information from. I don't know if it's true or not. I just think it's absolutely unnecessary. I don't know why these people are doing it. I don't know why they feel it's newsworthy. But Sarah Limerick wrote it for the Daily Mail. And yeah, I just think it's bullshit. I think it stinks. I just don't understand why they're doing this stuff. I just think they've done it here. That's it, basically.
All right. Daily Mail are going for a lot, boy.
Can I push back on that? I don't know if I might be able to push back on that.
No, you can be able to, yeah.
So, I totally agree. Don't think it's necessary. However, I know when Prince died, when Michael died, I'm using black art thing, but I'm sure there's other white people. They do tend to look at the finances. So I'm just thinking, I don't know, maybe there is only on black people, but I'm thinking of big stars that have passed and they have done that. Second of all, the only thing I can take out of it, if there is something to take out of it, is the fact if it is true, is a lesson to learn about managing finances. Because if Jamal Edwards, if that is true and he did have a lot of money, what happened? And I think you guys talked about insurance, and I don't know if it was yesterday, and it could be another reason for life insurance. It could be another reason of making sure we put our money in assets, another reason for... So when I saw that, I just thought, okay, whether it's true or not, it just brought into awareness we need to have more financial literacy. And even people that are rich...
It's saying here that it's from official documents. It's saying that he was reportedly worth between 8 million and 355 million, but official documents show he left a gross estate of 45,500, and after paying his debts, his net estate was zero. So he still paid his debts and stuff. I just feel like, I don't know if you're saying there's examples of it. I can't picture many examples of where people that they like or look up to in their community, and then after their death they start trolling through this stuff. And all the examples you gave me before was black people, so it seems like there's a theme to it. I mean, I just don't like it. I just think it's unnecessary, so fuck them. That's just how I feel.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get into the outro?
Man, let's get into this outro.
For tuning in. This has been a really, really good, insightful, amazing episode. Thank you to our lovely guests for joining us. We really appreciate it. And she brought us gifts. So future guests, if you can make notes, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to our live crew as well. Those of you who sent in questions. I hope you guys have learned as much as we have today. Do follow us on all our social media platforms. The Day After TNB. Like the video. Don't leave this video without liking it, because Brent is going to be really upset. You don't want Brent to be upset. Also interact with us. You know, we're on TikTok, not social media, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. If you would like to send voice notes in or text in for Sis, what would you do? Asking for a friend. Or it's also the number to call when we're on air. It's 075-6484-1073. We appreciate you guys always supporting us. Do join the community as well. Subscribe to our channel. Join the community, community.thenewblack.com. And if you'd like to inquire about the show or feature on the show, you can email our team thedayafter@thenewblack.com. Have a great Thursday, and we'll be back tomorrow. Bye.
Ciao.